We're back once more, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Pinnacle Cup, the second day in the Swiss stage, and also the second game in the day. My name is Ashura, together with Valderi, again in command of the talkie business. And as we take you through the whole endeavor today, we've got Young Ninjas versus Fiend coming right up next. And after the upset we saw earlier, I'm not quite sure how things will plan out.
Yeah, so the narrative for today was mostly the idea that, we've got these two top teams going up against teams that would be considered underdogs. Let's be honest, Mao's NXT, they were considered underdogs, probably not anymore. But Young Ninjas, I think it is the same story. Fiend, they are considered a cut above Young Ninjas, and by a pretty big margin. I mean, they are the one Bulgarian squad that acts as the gatekeeper for the top 20 area. Even though they did end up losing to Skade, which is the Bulgarian team that ended up kind of falling off, but I think they'll hop right back on the horse. But looking at the lineups, I mean, Fiend, they've got some very respectable names. Their lineup, it's just been solidified with the recent addition of Harn, and we've seen how crazy he can be. I know it's not a very recent addition, but I mean, if you were under a rock for the past couple of months, that is the case. But Young Ninjas, I think they've got a lot to prove, and could we have two instances where the underdogs will topple the Titans?
Yeah, it could be a really interesting regard. And they themselves have had some interesting changes the past month, the past couple of months maybe. Because Young Ninjas, the way that NIP sort of works as an organization is that they've got a really strong academy program, right? They've got the Path of a Ninja program as well that has brought in Rolf now in place of Mana, now replacing him in that main roster of the Young Ninjas side. But also, they like giving experience to the more younger players in that main lineup. And they also give them a chance to sort of experience what it's like at the top of the tier when it comes to Counter-Strike. A good example of that was ZTR, right? He was there for a little bit, and he proved himself quite worthy of that position, but now they've brought him back, now acting as the captain of the team, and put LNZ back into his place where he was previously into NIP. So I really like how NIP is working around their roster. Obviously, their main focus isn't the Young Ninjas, but I think they've got their eyes set onto longevity. They want to make sure that these guys can slowly improve together, little by little, get that experience of the top of the line, so when their time comes to play against the top of the tier teams, they are ready, well equipped, and they can hit the road running.
Absolutely, and I think for the bigger organizations, Gambit was sort of the foundational groundwork that was laid out, incentivizing these bigger organizations to make sure that they have academy rosters. So even if you're competing within their tier 1 scene, you can put a healthy amount of investment into the tier 2 scene so that it can grow on the side. And if there is some capitalization to be made off of it, or if there is some talent that is up and coming, that will still be something that the bigger organizations can get their hands dirty with. So I really do like that idea, but what I am interested in is ZTR's impact now that he is on that Young Ninjas roster, because of course, once he was in that main lineup, he must have gotten a lot of experience out of it. So carrying that over, not only is this a one-way street where the Young Ninjas can sort of graduate into becoming a full-time ninja, basically, I think it works in reverse as well. I mean, if one of the players that has gotten a lot of experience, as you mentioned, if they hop back into the Young Ninjas roster, that will allow them to suddenly amp up the base level that has been built for the Young Ninja side, because they're going to suddenly have a lot more experience to work off of. They're going to have a lot of groundwork that has been committed to that one player that has been brought back to the roster. So I think that's the role that ZTR plays here. And that, of course, does solidify their roster to a significant bit. But the question is whether or not it's been solidified enough to take a map against something like Fiend. Because I know that Entropy, it was a bit of a surprise that they get upset by Mao's NXT, but this isn't the same story at all. You're looking at a team that is quite solidified, as far as Fiend goes, and it's the same story for Entropy, don't get me wrong. But on the other side, now you'd still have that component of familiarity, which was not present with Mao's NXT. You talked about it in the post-game in the previous matchup, where Mao's NXT, they don't have that much historical information to go off of. You don't have anything to read off of. You're not very familiar with the style of play, and especially when you have this international mixed lineup where you can't really predict what kind of strategies will be coming from which side of the map, and I mean the world map. it can be a bit tricky to work around it. So Young Ninjas is definitely not the same level of groundwork. Instead, you're looking at a team that has quite a bit of history going into it. I mean, they have, I'm pretty sure they've played over 100 officials in the past 3 months, and just switching a few players around here and there, especially considering the fact that they do have a coach, I don't think that's going to significantly impact the way they play, even if the individual mechanics or the individual ability to pick off players has changed with the addition of somebody else.
Interesting of you making predictions again. We know how that endeavor kind of falls through. But I think we've also got an idea of how Young Ninjas are going to perform so far. We've seen this iteration of a roster perform. And as well in this tournament, the Pinnacle Cup, we've already gotten a taster of how we will be approaching this. They've already made their mark in the play-in stage, getting themselves now into the Swiss stage, beating out VP Prodigy 16-12 from the start, and Sangl Esports 2-1 in that endeavor. And now seeing how many teams now in the Swiss stage are so darn strong. Looking at the whole lineup, they don't have easy competition. They really need to prove their worth. They've recently been put into that 49th position, now being, I believe, the 5th best Swedish team out there, and I think they've got potential to even reach greater heights. So getting a good start here in the Pinnacle Cup, here in the Swiss stage, is a really good chance for them to prove just that.
Yeah, absolutely. Young Ninjas, this is their chance to replicate some of Mao's NXT's success. And could they do that? I'm still teetering on the edge of saying no, because Fiend, of course, you know, they've had some lights out performances recently. But the one thing that I do want to mention is that with the exception of having a decent game against Extremum and having a solid victory over Endpoint, they do seem to be dropping off just a little bit in terms of performance. So I think one of the things that can end up working out in their favor is if Fiend don't feel too comfortable with today in general. So I think we should directly head on over to the veto. Why don't we?
Oh, absolutely. Let's have a look at the team's picks when it comes to maps. And I won't be surprised with the Dust 2 ban coming straight out of the bat from NIP. I don't think anyone could be surprised with that. Fiend, of course, don't really like Vertigo, and we'll be banning that out as well. Inferno first up. Mirage coming in. Dust 2 is blocked out, so we won't be seeing the trifecta of the 3 maps. Ancient, we won't be seeing none of that. Nuke either. Oh. It's Overpass coming through. 3 very different maps in nature, but 2 more puggier than the other. How do you feel about this whole lineup?
Inferno, that's something that Fiend are quite comfortable with, but that's still Young Ninjas' pick. So honestly, with the kind of maps that have been picked, both of them are maps that both teams have experiences on. It's not like they're ever going to be in uncharted waters, you know? I mean, if we saw Fiend end up playing something like Vertigo, or if they ended up playing something like Nuke, then we could maybe hypothesize that Young Ninjas would have a head start in that instance. Or if Dust 2 was played, I think Young Ninjas would definitely struggle on that, but it's simply not the case. All 3 maps incredibly familiar, and both teams have good win percentages across the board. But the one yardstick that we can compare them with is the fact that I do think that Fiend have been playing against tougher opponents in general, and I think they have scraped together some better victories. The one thing that I can mention that does go in the favor of Fiend is the fact that their Mirage has been so solid, and to maintain 4 games out of 5 being won when you've played 40 maps, I mean, having an 80% win rate, and that's against so many incredible teams, you know, being able to beat out Extremum, Endpoint, and their win against Endpoint was 16-3, by the way, so that's pretty impressive considering how structured that team is. When you have a team that's so solid on Mirage, that first map becomes so much more important for the Young Ninjas.
Absolutely, and I think it's going to be a really close endeavor at the end of the day. You do say it's going to be a difficult endeavor when it comes to the Young Ninjas side. We have talked about the favorites and underdog story kind of not falling into place that previous matchup. So with Entropic coming up against Mouse's NXT team, and for that reason, it's really anyone's game to play. So I'll be even looking forward to what Pinnacle thinks of this, what the odds are in that sort of regard. But we'll be heading right into game to find out exactly how this game will play through.
I think straight off the bat, Young Ninjas want a victory on Inferno, because Mirage, of course, those are grounds that heavily favor the Sharks known as Fiend. You can already see the Pinnacle odds on the top of your screens. Fiend heavily favored over Young Ninjas, and for good reason. Do have to give them that much, but I don't think that Young Ninjas are going to go out without a bang, even if they do end up losing. You know what? Let's not talk about the potential of winning or losing at the moment, because we're about to head right into the action, aren't we?
Absolutely. Bubble now holding through. Is he? Looking to shoot some bullets through Bubble. But he's all by himself on this B site. Quite a lonely endeavor in Young Ninjas. I imagine they're going to start pushing through with a Wolf that he cannot expect. It's actually the nades to kill him. They knew exactly where he was. The coordination on those nades was perfect. Both of them popping at the same time, killing him off. Both of them doing a lot of damage in that regard. Bomb now down, and Young Ninjas haven't even have a player down either. Rolf getting himself in a really sneaky position. Fiend, they really need to pop off here. Victor expecting that angle, finding the headshot, giving space for his team to move across. You've got Han coming in from Banana, but it seems Nilo will be there to collect him if he gets spotted out. Multiple positions being covered here from Young Ninjas, so Fiend really need to be careful and methodical about clearing every single one of them. Han able to get one, Fuzzy getting one onto Victor, but Sapik able to return as well and Kying. 2 versus 3. Young Ninjas still favorable, but the time is dwindling, and no kit available means that there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, Fiend. I mean, Harn does get away with the CZ and armor, but that's about it. Young Ninjas, I think they're quite happy about the fact that they get away with the first round, because they've got to win this map pick. That's going to be one of the underlying narratives for the series, and it's the idea that if we see map number 2, or rather map number 3, I think it becomes very, very tricky. If Fiend end up picking up Inferno, then I don't even think it can be a 3-map affair. I think Young Ninjas would really struggle on a map like Mirage. But you know what? They've already shown us a pretty strong start, so let's not count them out of it just yet. Rolf, quick nade around the fallen position. We'll make sure that Bubble has to be pushed back. Harn holding it down with a scout rifle. I mean, they do have deagles across the board for Fiend and a CZ on Victor, which does allow them to have a bit more impact. Perhaps they can still turn this round around, but Young Ninjas, they're not wasting any time. They'll be heading straight onto brackets, and this Molotov will make sure that even if a rotation was about to come through, they should get free access to the A-bomb site. But they'll be taking their time, switching up their pace a little bit, and they'll be walking into the crosshairs of Harn.
Yeah, Han expecting the push, but Fizz is quickly on the trigger, meaning that Han is out of the server already. Fiend limited in resources, but they've got plenty of players near and around the site able to perform onto this. Dreamer moves out of the smoke, deletes Raffle. Near low though on the Mac 10 is able to distinguish one as well. 2 versus 4, Fiend are on the back foot, but from afar will try and square a few shots. Red Star successfully in doing so with that scout, but not quite sure how Bubble can get himself in the matter. Needs to get up close and personal. ZTR there and ready for it, which means that Red Star has to deal with the situation alone. And he feels that that cannot really work out, so he opts out of it. Will fall back, maybe to get an exit frag in the process, as he does stick around towards Library for an extra shot, but I think his chances are limited. Therefore, Young Ninjas will be getting themselves a 2-0 start.
Not too much damage that is done off of the Desert Eagles and the Scout Rifle, but that is to be expected. Young Ninjas did play that to a near perfection, taking slow brackets control. And I do like when teams play a bit faster on the second round. So there are 2 philosophies, of course, going into this. If you play a very fast style of play, you can run into a stack. You can potentially run into those Desert Eagles. You can walk into a five-man hold. But at the same time, if you take too much time clearing out every single angle, that can allow the Deagles to be more powerful as the time goes on, because then you get less time to check angles when you actually do get onto a bomb site, and that's where Deagles and Scouts can really show their impact on a server. So, you know, the middle of the road approach where you do check both bomb sites, but you don't really let the timer run down past 50 before you hit a bomb site. I do like that approach from Young Ninjas, and it did make sure that they wouldn't run into anything too dicey, but Red Star, I think he's been diced up pretty significantly. Maybe that scout has passed over, who knows?
Dreamer waiting there. Standoff versus Nilo. Spots him out. Most damage inflicted onto Nilo though, and the aggression pulls ahead Dreamer. Getting himself some space here on the apartment side. Contact hasn't been found towards the B site though, but Red Star, knowing that some advantage has already been gained towards A, he might as well reinforce this backline. But the utility available from Young Ninjas is grand, and it may not allow Fiend to really pull through ahead here. Spending a third player, maybe even a fourth, Fiend are quickly on their feet towards this B site, which is why they're able to spray through the smoke here. They're going to try and cross, but the reloads do come through, which does give space for the bomb to get planted. 3v4, Fiend still have plenty of numbers, and the fact that they haven't really invested in this, they don't mind going all in. Resta trying to find a few shots through the cathedral window, but Sapik on this close angle, surely he can find some damage. Only one streamer is shutting people down. 2 kills going his way with that deagle. It's actually massive. It's all up to Fizzy all of a sudden, and Fiend make a pistol round work out. How about that?
How did that retake go their way? They had barely anything to work off of, but okay. They'll take what they can get. Fiend. They've sneaked past with one round that Young Ninjas were sure to get. And this is already looking a bit troublesome. That is a road bump in the economy of the terrorist side, but not too shabby. So I don't think they're particularly too worried about the scenario, but I think the ground will start getting colder in just a little bit, as Fiend now have a lot more money to work with, and you know that once you get that AWP in the hands of Harn, it can significantly change the outcome of a game. Young Ninjas, they're quickly trying to take control of second mid, a flashbang to allow them to push through. Brackets control will soon be established because there's nobody really watching it too heavily. It's just Harn that is watching around the corner, and one flashbang should be good enough to clear him out. Double smokes for the bracket side. Rolf will take away Harm from the equation. Dreamer doesn't get a chance to react either, so that's Stu's T's already sprawling onto the A bomb site. That is the bomb site up for grabs, and Young Ninjas, they might have hit a road bump, but they will speed right past it.
They don't really just steam right past it, they just... The road bump is no longer there, you know?
Yeah, they flatten it on the way out.
Exactly. It no longer exists on the road. It's just part of it now. It's just flattened out, as you said.
Imagine if that was a thing. If you could flatten out speed breakers or road bumps if you just drove fast enough.
I think you'd need a very heavy-duty tank to at least have a chance.
I don't think any car is or any vehicle is heavy enough to just outright flatten solidified asphalt.
No, I think you're right. I think that's a pretty safe bet for you to, a safe assumption for you to make. But coming into this one, I think what is not safe about Fiend is them assuming that they would be complete favorites over this matchup. Coming into this one and not expecting Young Ninjas to fight back is a completely flawed mindset. Young Ninjas is a really strong squad, and they've proven it so far. Fiend don't really gain any momentum out of that. They can quickly drop the ball when it comes to economy. As Young Ninjas, they've got a solid chance to keep the ball rolling themselves.
Yeah, but because they were able to save 3 guns, Harn can still afford an AWP. Fizzy almost spots it. That is a Molotov and a half, but somehow more utility damage goes the way of the CT side. Fizzy is able to pick up Bubble, and that's a 1-for-1 trade, but that does favor the CT side a little bit more. Victor peeks out a flashbang, makes them turn their heads, but not good enough to keep away Sapik from the trigger. Pushes right around the smoke, and he's going to find it. That's the bomb site up for grabs once more.
It is indeed, and not only that, they've got plenty of numbers to save for it as well. Milo, on the other side of the map, I think Hahn has got an idea of where he is and will take his time by pulling that trigger. No reason to re-aggress, really, but I think he'll be happy to run away with his weapon here. He doesn't really get damaged either, so Young Ninjas, although they're quite wealthy economically, I doubt they'll go for a search and destroy party. But 2 rifles perhaps will keep Fiend in the game for that next round, considering that Bubble still has 3.6k of economy in his bank still.
Yeah, I would agree with that idea, but only if they had 3 guns remaining, because right now being able to buy up for 2 players is probably the only... They're not even going to be able to buy up properly for 2 players. If Dreamer and Harn had some money and Bubble got his own weaponry, then at that point you can agree with it. Yes, M4 and an op, plus 2 weapons to supplement it, but I don't think that should be the case. Maybe Dreamer and Harn can drop it a couple M4s, but that's at the sacrifice of utility. So do they go for this gun round? Do they double down? Perhaps. It is a bit of a crossroads from them because it would be a pretty significant investment.
Yeah, it would get dicey, and I saw the Pinnacle odds sort of show that the odds of Young Ninjas winning out on this occasion is sort of slowly being put in place for them, although it does get quite difficult really to get to that point, as Fiend is quite substantially the favourite, but the lead will start out. You can even bet on those odds, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know about it, by heading over to pinnacle.com/odds, and you'll be seeing those odds of Fiend versus their opponents here in this chance. And by talking about chances, there's a €10 investment into an esports bet that you can get €10 in return, which is really cool, so you might as well take advantage of that. But of course, you need to use Cup 21 on sign up, and for that regard, there are some terms and conditions that apply in the meantime. But you need to keep yourself safe when you bet, so only bet what you can afford, and don't run out of money, please. Bet responsibly. Young Ninjas, though, they're doing a stellar job so far. 4-1, and if they can continue this way, they'll bankrupt Fiend substantially. And we did talk about the buy, and it seems like Fiend have gone for that full investment. Not only that, they've gone for the double AWP setup.
Yeah, lots of money being pulled out of sock drawers at this point. And that investment does end up working out in their favor. Red Star, his AWP, it will reign supreme over Banana, and that has cleared it out completely. Harn forced to back off because of the Molotov, but he can still get himself into a much better position because Young Ninjas, they've got only 4 players alive, and they'll be going up against 3 waiting on the other end. A smoke to defensively clear it out. Harn, he wants to join his comrades on the A-bomb site.
They absolutely do. Slowly circulating around this area. Fiend to be very sneaky with their positions, not give them away, and maybe catch some players off guard before they fall. They want to make sure this hold comes underway before the retake becomes a possibility. Not lose on too many players, but ZTR already putting his mark on to 2 players. Dreamer putting a dent onto Roth. But other than that, ZTR has gotten himself 3 kills. That is all 3 players on the A site. Completely sorted. And now just Red Star and Bubble are remaining. And I think Young Ninjas have done a stellar job on this take.
Is this start reminding you of anything?
Deja vu from the previous best of 3, perhaps.
Huh. Could this be the day of the underdogs?
The day of the academies, I think.
Yeah.
Because the academy team of Mouse played earlier, beating out Entropique, in case you missed that matchup. It was a fairly demanding victory as well. 2-0, 2-0 on both Dust2 and Ancients. Demanding victories. I believe it was 16-6 on the first and 16-8 on the second. Yeah. Imagine if Young Ninjas replicate that. That would be insane.
They are off to a smashing start for sure, but the issue here is that Fiend can time and time again get away with their weapons, which is why their buy hasn't suffered, and that's one of the cornerstones of the CT side economy. If you're not going to win out a round, make sure you can save. That's also one of the reasons why Inferno's rounds are often so long, because you can just use the long rotational times on the map as an advantage when you're on the CT. Instead, use them to save instead, but this time, Fiend want a better control over their economy, so they'll be holding on to their horses. Red Star almost walks into certain death, but will be avoiding it, anticipating flashbangs and hoping that he can catch somebody out on second mid. Do Victor and Dreamer catch out ZTR, though? That's the big question. Not at all. Ooh. That's
well, your
kills.
question instantly got answered there, because they do come out ahead on that end of the stick. 2-1 kills. I guess that's rifles to be collected as well, which makes their situation a lot more comfortable than it was previously. Although Dreamer hasn't really gone to collect that rifle. They're sticking around, considering that Young Ninjas could still be lurking within the apartments, which I do like the fact that they're respecting them to that margin, but it's a shame because they could really be their lineup could look a lot more stronger than it actually is as they do come into the A and B site. Bubble, they're in waiting, but hard on the boost position, can't do too much to damage Bubble. The distraction has been made, good for one, but Rolf quickly to return that favor. HE grenade towards the cathedral, not doing too much as the bomb goes down. Still Fiend, they've got the numbers and they've got a good chance of this.
Maybe Fiend can put that second round on the board. Rolf's head has been kicked around like a football as just Opik left. 1 headshot for him. Needs to connect 2 more if he wants to keep his team in that round, but he will not be allowed by it. Dreamer rips away the dream of Opik to be able to get that sixth round and turns it into a nightmare instead.
Well, just like that, Fiend get themselves a second round here, defusing the bomb. But online biking payments are also the bomb if you pay with Trustly. Quick and easy. payments from account to account, and you can be assured that Trustly is the place to do just that. 5-2 though. Is that the momentum stop from Young Ninjas? They still have got some money in them. How far can Fiend take this?
Yeah, the problem is that they are on the CT side, so battering this Young Ninjas economy is probably not one of their affairs, Rolf and Sapek. Sitting in a tree, N-A-D-I-N-G.
That's the second time we see an aid-coordinated stack getting a kill in favor of the Young Ninjas side.
Yeah, they love spamming that fallen position with nades, don't they? And it works out for them because Fiend, they love having aggressive positions for their AWP players, and that's one of the more predictable angles that you can take. So for Young Ninjas to proactively always respond to that kind of aggression, it's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, this time around kind of works out from a different position, though. I remember the first round, it was a double stack up towards CT.
Watch the sandwich.
Ooh. Careful about that. Fiend, they're aware of it. Victor succeeds in the first shot, and he's got assistance coming through from Dreamer. But Sapik is able to deliver on both ends, and that means that they've got a clear sight take for them. Bubble is approaching quickly, and so is Han, which does dwindle their opportunities, so they need to act fast. There's an urgency in this occasion, and they need to find some kills if they want to have a chance of this retake. Han, aware that Sapik could be lurking in the shadows, and he needs to be wary of it. Backstab coming through, and there goes their dreams of getting this round under wraps. Young Ninjas, they take over that situation quite substantially so, and that will give them yet a round of a victory.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Well, you questioned whether or not Fiend would be able to run away with some momentum. Now, the problem for that is Young Ninjas, their economy cannot be easily taken down. Yes, these couple of kills will probably help in making it a little more palatable, but for the most part, if you're on the T side and you're winning round after round, that will start to accumulate, as you can see in the bank account of ZTR.
Slowly but surely, Young Ninjas round by round increasing their odds, as shown by Pinnacle. You can see the focus on these lads. And there's such a massive organization backing you, such as NAP. I believe they're now number 5 in the world. They're fairly impressive, and I really like their youngsters program as well. The Path of the Ninja program, where Rolf actually was the first winner of, and therefore is the reason why he's currently in the roster. I really, really like it. Finding support to young players is a really difficult thing, and when teams like that build academy rosters, try and build up their scene in their country is quite a beautiful prospect, you know? Help these youngsters get where all these pros are currently. And I think they're really succeeding in doing that.
Yeah, but as for now, the question is whether or not Red Star can succeed in holding off the bomb site. Bubble is there to support him. He's gonna swing out, doesn't connect the spray down through a smoke, and that's 2 kills for the CT side, easily backing off. They've gotten the advantage before the bomb goes down, and now the pressure is on Young Ninjas to make sure that they can hold down the side, but Sapik is already low, and that makes things a lot easier for Fiend. Do they move in? They've got double up, so that makes clearing out angles a little bit harder. Perhaps holding them down will be an easier affair. 2 from CT, 2 from Cathedral, and that's the head being spotted. Nilo gets taken down. Sapik responds. It's Victor to pick him up. Sapik, last man remaining. He's quickly nestled himself into the position that Bubble was previously found in. Does he swing out? That's almost a lineup. Has to go for the reload. Red Star is getting aggressive. Misses the shot, and that should be it. Sapik, he's just saved the round despite the deficit.
And if you can see his face there on his player model, he's got a smirk all over on his face. Oh my word, that was a pretty play. It got dicey, right? It wasn't a simple one. Victor was also low, so it was a simple cleanup. The reload, though, that's where I got nervous. That's where I clenched my buttocks. But Sapik, that's where he got unleashed. He realized that his opponent was an AWP, and missing out on his own shot was his chance to close up the gap and capitalize on that recoil.
Young Ninjas moving up Banana, doing it slowly but surely, and he's gonna swing out wide. Victor, not sure how he manages to survive that spray down, but he does. Now Bubble is the second man in charge. Does he maintain control over sandbags? I mean, he's going for pot shots, and it wouldn't be surprised if he does find the frag. But Sapik, he's been coming out on top in a lot of these duels. Dreamer and Harn, now they're the ones remaining, and do they backtrack?
Milo, a bit of performance to Harn as well. So Fiend not really given a chance with these pistols, right? Not that we expected anything different, especially seeing how stellar Young Ninjas' performance has been so far. I think the cornerstone of this is their finesse, their coordination. But Sapik's performance is what's been mind-blowing so far. He's got 15 kills, 9 rounds in, with 6 deaths. That is an unreal ratio.
That's a lot of entries by him as well. The fact that he's gotten kills on retakes, he's gotten kills on entries, that's not just kills on the board. That's a lot of impact kills. That makes a big difference, and you can see it being reflected in the scoreline. Fiend, now they want to get a bit more aggressive. They want Harn to take initiative when it comes to the AWP. But he's not going to be granted that opportunity. Ooh, 3 players being snuck into the apartments. Never mind, just 2, but that's good enough. Double smokes on brackets, they'll push right in.
Victor now waiting on a really good corner. Flash will give away his position. Dreamer as well. ZTR and Rolf are able to chime in together to get the most of the kills here. The East site in a matter of seconds has been taken over, coordinating from that short angle. They only need one position to regain control because every single one of them are moving in a unit. Every single one of them holding a different angle and even having a buddy system to back things up when things go south. Their takes look really impressive right now, and I don't see Fiend having an answer to it.
This is worrisome. Fiend. I mean, I get that it isn't their own map pick, but ooh. Coming up next, Mirage. It's not like that can be a map that is surefire anyway. You can start to see the odds being shifted in the favor of Young Ninja. Still a lot of faith being put in Fiend, but remember, if you do want to bet on these odds, you can go ahead and head on over to pinnacle.com/odds, where you can find the latest in-play offerings for these teams. And they are also running a promotion at the moment where if you bet 10 euros, or rather if you deposit 10 euros, you get 10 euros back as a bonus. So do go ahead and take advantage of that offer while it is available. You can take advantage of it by using the code CUP21, but make sure that you gamble responsibly, and terms and conditions do apply. But while you are heading on over to Pinnacle, maybe you can make a deposit through Trustly, which can make your payments flow quickly from account to account. So do go ahead and check out our partners there as well.
Fiend, serious pace is on all across the board. They know they've got some feet to surpass their opponents here. Even if they do lose this one map, but at least they want to have a surge of confidence. We saw Entropic last time that they sort of said, okay, map number 1 hasn't gone our way, 16-6, okay, let's try and refocus on Asian. But their opponents had such confidence coming into the next map, that seemed nearly impossible. Obviously now this is sort of a filler for Fiend. They know that this round isn't quite going to go in their favor. At least try and put a dent into their opponent's economy. That may be what they're looking for. But apart from that, they may want to rethink how they want to approach the next stage. AK-47 in the hands, AWP in the hands of Dreamer as well, which could be quite substantial. But the fact that Young Ninja heading towards the B site, knowing that there's only one player holding it and it's Red Star with just a mere deagle, I think those chances are very slim.
The one point I do want to make here is that this is a significantly op-heavy map where Banana and mid can be entirely dominated by just having the right AWP players. Hold that thought. I think they're actually going to try to defend this. Ooh. Red Star, he starts things off with a pop onto Sapik's head. That's a 3v3 now. They want to desperately get onto the bomb site. There is still 30 seconds, and Fizzy, with 2 quick kills, will put Victor in a position where he's definitely thinking about running home. Now, what I wanted to mention is that this is an op-heavy map, and when you have 2 very important AWP players in the form of Harn and Red Star, you know, both players having a lot of primary AWP experience, it's troubling to see it still not go your way. It's troubling for the double ops to come to the server and leave empty-handed. And with double digits now being achieved for Young Ninjas, what can we even expect on Mirage? Because if something that favors the team composition of Fiend isn't working out for them, Mirage scares me even more because that's where the AWP has a little bit less impact.
Let's see if that actually comes underway. Victor switching up the pace by walking up against Banana. Fiend at the same time do respond by falling back towards the A site, make sure they've got plays to assist in that endeavor. He only runs away with one before he gets quashed by Rolf, but other than that, Young Ninjas have some space gained towards the upper side car. The process though. The general game plan is at A site, though the bomb needs to be collected by someone, and that someone will not be Rolf. He walks in towards Banana, and maybe that was a distraction technique to bring players towards the B side. Though Fiend, they're comfortable. It's not the B side. Look at both players already rotating. They don't care that the B side is open. They want to pull the attention onto the A side, and it's a good read from them. ZTR already placing himself within the depths of the site. This is a really advantageous angle for him to take over a few kills here. Bubble will not permit that one bit, and their gamble works out. What won't work out is that they will possibly be giving Fizzy a bomb plant, but I think they will be running away with a round nonetheless.
He's gotten the bomb down. I mean, he should be able to get the bomb down comfortably, and he's just punching the numbers in. Now he knows for sure that he has a fighting chance. But man, he is stuck behind no man's land. It'll be very hard to get this through. Harn playing the farther angle. Who catches who first? Being closer to the smoke does help a little bit.
It does. Became difficult to spot out Harn in that position there. So, a good note for Fiend, at least they can feel happy about that, and they can be glad that their timeouts worked accordingly.
Little tidbit of information. You can actually often predict how a duel will go down when a smoke is fading, because the person that's closer to the smoke or the person that's inside the smoke will often get vision before the person that's farther away or outside the smoke will. So that's... People often think that smokes are very inconsistent, but in that regard, they can often be quite consistent. So that's just a game mechanic that people need to get used to.
I love the smiling faces of Young Ninjas, how relaxed they are in this endeavor. It really is reminiscent of Mao's NXT. But coming into this one, it wasn't going to be an easy endeavor. If you guys think you already knew that Young Ninjas would have been ahead, you might as well use that knowledge by heading over to pinnacle.com/odds. Going over there and betting on a game. 10 euros as well with a sign up of the code CUP21 will give you 10 euros in return. That offer will be there to stay for a little bit, so make sure you take advantage of it while you can. Buy round across the board. Can Fiend continue with the streak, or can Young Ninjas bounce back and take the command once more?
Young Ninjas, 3 players on Banana. 2 scouting around mid, but the bomb is now being rotated over through pit. Of course, no information has been given up by either team, with the exception of some of the utility flying over towards B now. But they're not going to commit, they're just selling out a fake, and I don't think Fiend buys it, because they did have half a rotation being cheated over, but Harn quickly recognizes that that is probably not their course of action, but this is meant to be a double down. That fake was just meant to make Fiend doubt themselves and keep themselves on the A side, because that's where the major push will come in.
Does look like that, and they do trickle in with the utility bubble, able to grab one before he falls. And Dreamer's one on the other side of the map, puts his dent into the side of Young Ninjas, but I think the take has already commenced. Red Star, I think, intelligently enough, falls back in time for the Molotov to spread without him damaging himself too much. 48 points of health remaining on him as the bomb goes down, but Dreamer already wants to put a dent on the back line. Fizzy out, Rolf holding his ground, but the shot from Dreamer isn't quick enough. ZTR there to deliver. Victor as well with a double up. Rolf was all by himself all of a sudden. Flash drawn out, 2 different angles, very different angles. And Red Star there holds that lineup and is able to pull the trigger in time. Fiend, they're putting themselves on the board for yet another time and have a potential to close things out 5-10 at halftime.
At the very least, the advantage that Fiend get is that when they switch on over, they'll be on the side that they're more likely to make a comeback on. And I know that this is sort of a point that I have reiterated in the previous game as well, but it is something that holds true. It becomes a lot easier to control the economy of the enemy side, and snowballing rounds together, just chaining them one after the other, it becomes significantly easier if you can control the enemy team's money. Fiend, they've got to play for scraps. They got to play for everything that they can put under their belt at the moment. Red Star and Harn, they've bought up entirely, double AWP, so this is going to be a final gun round that is all guns blazing. Just Bubble lacking a little bit of utility, but I think that's because he exhausted some of it early on.
Yeah, he spent all of his utility already, most of it. Sent it over to the banana side, so throwing down a smoke as well. I believe a nade is followed through. Flash coming out, Harn. Holding down this liner. Very important one as well, but I think Young Ninjas have a different endeavor. Harn does deliver eventually onto ZTR, but Red Star, what does he do with this read? Smoke coming out, delaying the push, but I don't think Young Ninjas care. They're going to push through right through it. Flash coming through. Red Star has a really tough task ahead of him. He's all by himself. He needs to buy time for the reinforcements to arrive. Molly out, multiple positions. Doesn't realize Rolf has already snuck into that corner, and that will be his downfall. Nilo has been boosted up. That's the kill delivered, and that means that they are ahead for this retake. Sapek holding a very difficult angle that I don't think Harn will check. That will probably be his downfall, but no, he pre-fires it. Shot coming through. 3 versus 3. Molotov to lure Fuzzy out. Can they still hold on to this? Bomb ticking down, and it's still a 3v3 endeavor. Nailed onto Fizzy as well. Boost coming through. Rolf reads it, and Harn will try and push through. The job! It comes in time. Fizzy will hold his ground, and so will Rolf. 11-4 in favor of Young Ninjas at halftime.
What a way to start things off swinging. Young Ninjas. Nobody would have expected that they put so much pressure on Fiend. Double digits, and that's 11 rounds? No way. They might have just done it. Leaving Fiend with a measly 4 rounds to try to make a comeback on. Now that has exponentially multiplied the importance of the pistol round. A lot hinges on this for Fiend. Just dropping to the Glocks right now, or rather to the USPs, will make sure that this goes to a... Well, it's going to go to Mirage anyway, but not in their favor. Now lining up on towards the B-bomb side. Banana is their domain. Fiend, I think they've chosen the right angle because Young Ninjas, they have everybody committed to the A-bomb side, save for Rolf, who's about to be the young gun that deals with it all on his own.
Hey, that as well to assist in that endeavor. Could do a lot of damage. Actually does. Harn is down to half. I think overall he did about 80 damage. Rolf getting a kill across Victor and still alive. He's buying so much time. Bomb hasn't quite gone down yet, but I think that was plenty of time given to Young Ninjas. Smoke is deep. That is something we've seen Fiend pull off multiple times, but ZTR is able to get himself the kill over on Bubble and gain ground towards Cathedral. Pushing through, his team collectively will follow Sapik onwards, getting him some space. Nilo does deliver onto Red Star. 4 versus 3 favoring the Young Ninjas so far, but Harn is also being a menace. Nilo looks behind, shuts him down, and it's all up to Dreamer. Nothing he can do as Sapik swings out and finds his head, and that will mean that Young Ninjas are bouncing up with a pistol round from that second half.
Rolf might have just proven why he's such a resourceful addition to the Young Ninjas side. All on his lonesome against 5 players, he was able to hold down the line so well. To throw a smoke, anticipate that they're going to push on forward anyway, throw that nade, tag up everybody, get much more favorable duels, and because he's stayed alive for that long, he can bait out the Fiend players into Cathedral, and he knocks them out of position. He primes them for the upcoming duels that Young Ninjas want to take, and that's bought enough time. So Rolf, what a valiant effort from him, and it pays off some dividends. Fiend. Now, I mentioned it. It all hinged off of the pistol round. What do they do past this, Pavlos?
What do they do? I mean, they have a chance. They went for the full buy, right? They've enforced all their resources into some weapons here. It's not looking great, but it's still something. Double Galil setup, although Harn has already been substantially damaged. his confidence definitely will be slaughtered. So yeah, no, Fiend have a chance. I think bouncing back this round is the best chance they'll get, because Young Ninjas, I think they'll get too far out of hand. If this round is lost, then I believe Fiend will have one more chance. Maybe, you know, they'll have one more buy round till Young Ninjas close that out. But considering how much of an advantage that the Swedes have currently, their chances are slim, at least for this map. Maybe in the series, they do have a better chance if they bounce back correctly. But for this map, they need to close this round in their favor.
Yeah, Sapik, he's the sole defender of the B-bomb side, and he's only got a smoke to work with. Playing the anti-flash position, he needs to buy time just like Rolf did. Flash is perfect. The spray down, unfortunately, only picks up one. Harn quickly tries to go for the bomb plant. Fizzy is there in time. Intercepts him with the A1S, and that's a 4v3 retake, but the bomb hasn't even gone down yet. Fizzy, he can still do a lot more damage. Holds the angle, narrowly isolates a duel, and he can even get a second one, but not for long, because Red Star is there with the one dig. MP9 reigns supreme. Red Star is left alone, and he can't do too much. That is Young Ninjas back on the B-bomb site. I
had hope with that take. I really did. I really thought that Fiend could have brought things back, but no. Young Ninjas' retake
Yin
looked
Yang
even greater.
Ninjas.
Yin Yang. Yeah, no, not something I'm used to saying. 13-4 though, that is impressive against Fiend. Wow, it is something else. It really is incredible, and it all came down to how quick they were to respond to this. Right, the bomb was only just getting down, but Fizzy being in that position was able to delay their setup for quite some time. And once the rotations came in, well, they were caught off guard.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why Harn would go for a bomb plant like that, because they hadn't cleared out Cathedral at all, and Harn was a player that was low in HP, so a little bit more attention to detail for Fiend would have paid off immensely. But it hasn't come through, and Young Ninjas, they quickly recognize it. We're able to capitalize. Fizzy with 3 kills. Now, Fiend, as you mentioned, this is one of their only chances that they get. Perhaps they get another gun round, but it's always going to be fighting off of the back foot. Young Ninjas, 13 on the board, just need 3 more to solidify themselves as the victors for map number 1.
Well, that's going to be intense for sure. Into the head of Bobble. Sapik pushes through. That is one-sided. Very one-sided affair there from Young Ninjas. Sapik looks to make his presence through the smoke. His balls are massive, and he's illustrated just that, Dreamer. Although he's the man you want to have in a clutch position, a 1v4 against a team who has shown quite some prevalence this game already, I doubt they'll give him too much of a chance, especially seeing that the bomb isn't at his disposal. All corners of this apartment site, it has been covered, apart from the back alley, which is where he will head out from. He's easing out from it. He knows his chances are slim, and therefore his best bet is to keep that AK-47 into the next round.
Dreamer, dreamer, dreamer. Dreaming of carrying on this AK over, and I think those dreams will come true because, well, nobody's going to be hunting for him anytime soon. But I think there are some other dreams that will also be taken care of, potentially, because Young Ninjas, they seem to be applying the pressure to Fiend right now. I am a bit surprised that it's not favored a little bit more in the side of Young Ninjas as far as the odds are concerned. I mean, 1.6 to 2.2. They're a lot better, don't get me wrong. Yes, Young Ninjas are starting to get a lot of faith in them, but at the same time, this is too convincing of a map victory if it comes to fruition, because there's no way that even if you didn't pick Inferno, you should be allowing that Academy squad to be taking it away from you just like that. And that's not to discredit Young Ninjas. I mean, I know that they're a solid team, but when Fiend are trying to act as the big daddies of Tier 2, they've got to show us what they're made of.
I like the way you described them, big daddies of Tier 2. Yeah, I guess their loss against their Bulgarian counterparts maybe has gotten to them. I would have thought that would have been a resurgence in determination, right? Trying to prove everyone wrong, losing to that one game. But maybe it got to them. Losing against Skade yesterday could have been the reason why right now they're not feeling too great. They went to sleep in a bad mood and they've woken up in one. And they may continue the day in a bad mood if this series doesn't go their way. Young Ninjas, they've shown quite a lot of prowess against their opponents. Determination to close things out. Rolf, he's got a big deed to make here, but he's got the reinforcement of Sapik in that endeavor. Fizzy will be challenged now with Dreamer pushing through, and Dreamer to peek out with a headshot to connect. Quickly reacting to it as well. Fiend already on their tracks towards the A side. This is a really fast response, and ZTR has got a big road ahead of him to close things out. One shot connects, tries to limit the use of bullets, but he's able to find 3 kills out of thin air. 2 versus 2 now, and it's anyone's game.
Young Ninjas desperate for the retake. They have a lot less on the line than Fiend do, because this would be match point for Young Ninjas. Fiend, this is their stepping stone to a comeback, but will they watch their step in the process? Victor, he is anticipating that short and apartments push. They need to hurry up because the bomb is taking down, but the weaponry favors the CT side now. Peeking on through, Victor doesn't quite spot the head, and this is where he gets overpowered. 4-3 doesn't favor him. Harn in the corner. They've spotted him out, and they will be taking him away. The bomb, comfortable defuse, and that is 15 for Young Ninjas.
This is not only reminiscent of that first map. You know, we saw a 16-6 scoreline on Dust 2 earlier with Entropic being beaten out by Mouse. Well, this has potential to be even worse than that, or better, considering what side of the spectrum you're supporting. But this is a slaughterhouse. 15-4? Fiend, is this all you've got to offer right now? I want to see more from them, for sure. I really do. I just feel like right now, they're not in the right headspace, and it's showing.
Absolutely. Fiend, they're not looking confident in any of those peaks. Harn, he's going for uncharacteristic angles that we haven't really seen him to succeed too much on, but let's see if Young Ninjas can hold down the wire. Fizzy tries to jump up on top of the box. He misses a step, but his teammates are there to secure him. Fizzy and ZTR, they've gotten to kill a piece, and Dreamer, he's trying to make him dead. Fizzy won't allow it. Peeks out for the apartments push, and it is all over in a snap. Young Ninjas, they come out on top 16-4, and that is not something we'd expect. Stay tuned, because map number 2, that's going to be a toss-up.
And it's the duo X-Roy ML Day to bring you the action for yet another time. Second map being drawn with Young Ninjas having a demanding victory from the start, 16-4, but it's already going to be the start towards mid. B-site split as well. Have a look at that. It's going to be explosive, and Rolf is going to be challenged.
Yeah, early on, fights being taken place. Rolf, he's only able to get one, but it's a 2-for-2 trade as Nilo is able to pick up Victor. Now the retake is on. 2 players quite far away from the action, but they do have a kid in the hands of ZTR. Double Kevlar, and they'll be sending in 1 from short, 2 from market. They've nestled themselves into very good positions on the Fiend side, bench, short, and apartment. So these duels will be hard to take, but the 5-second defuse does mean they have a little bit more time to work with. Bubble, he's going to be the first point of contact as he swings out. The Glock does connect with a headshot, doesn't come to lead into a kill. Couple kills come out from the T side as well. Harn now desperately trying to stick to the bomb. He does have a defuse kit, but the knife will be what takes him out of the server. Harn slices him away.
That's some extra cash in the bag as well. Look at the full enforcement of that buy with that. Comes together with an AK-47, full Kevlar utility. Han loves that. Now, Fiend, they lost quite substantially on the previous map, so hopefully this will resurge their confidence. And especially with young NIP going in with a full buy as well, this is their chance for Fiend to start things off on a good note.
Fiend, they've got 1 in Palace, 4 on ramp, and maybe just winning these few initial rounds might lead them into a better performance than they had on the first map at all. Young Ninjas, they've got a lot of Deagles across the board. Maybe a little gap in the smoke, but Bubble, he's going to be putting a gap in between the eyes of ZTR as the bullets start reigning supreme. It should be a pretty easy round for Fiend, all things considered.
Should be. Young Ninjas can't really challenge from that distance. Nilo putting that Deagle to the test as it is a 3v5 endeavor. Slowly to be dwindled to a mere 2v4. Deagle shot. Rolf looking for it, but he's going to have to find safety now as he drops back. And as you did mention, yes, it was quite easy for Fiend, wasn't it? 2-0 will be the scoreline after this bomb explodes.
Yeah, Fiend have already gotten half the rounds that they did in the previous map, so I think they're thrilled about that. You can still see that the Pinnacle odds do favor Fiend, and that is interesting considering how dominant NIP looked in that first map. Let's look at the buys here from the Young Ninja side. Sapik and Rolf, they're the ones that are commanding over Deagles and a couple sets of Kevlar, but for the most part, I don't think Young Ninja should be able to make too much of a dent. They are quite locked and loaded on the terrorist side. Bubble has picked up the first one with a Molotov, and it is a ramp and palace push with supplementary help coming in from Connector as well.
Push coming out. Simple stuff as well. Bubble making it work without Macton. Extra cash in the bag, as I like to call it, it's the mini ATM machine. 2 kills going to Bubble just like that. Beautifully done. Now Sapik is going to challenge Bubble in that regard. Not really going to give him too much of a chance in that endeavor to increase that advantage per se. Dreamer as well. He hasn't had too much of an impact the previous map, did he? And I think he wants to make sure that that prospect changes. Sapik all by himself. He may look for a kill here and there. But I'm sure they're anticipating the next round, which should be a full-on buy.
Yeah, I love how Sapik is just trying to keep them closer to that bomb site just to make sure that they lose a gun or two. Yeah, this is where Young Ninjas actually start to strike back. Fizzy with his AWP. Nalo, AUG in hand, 3 M4s. Now, this can be a tricky affair for the Young Ninjas to navigate because I know that Inferno didn't look like their cup of tea. But at the same time, Fiend are incredibly comfortable on Mirage. They've gotten some wins over solid teams, and with an 80% win rate, I mean, I'm sure they have something to show for it. Harn, early on, he's able to spot the barrel, or rather the stock of the AWP on the back of a player crossing over, so they know that Fizzy's playing in Connector, and I don't think they'll be sending any player over there, but based on the bomb position, Fiend, they do have their eyes set on these B apartments. The smoke will impede their progress. Let's see how Fiend take control over this map.
Rolf hiding out just behind the smoke here, but he needs to be careful. Fiends, they've got the cavalry lined up and ready, and the horn has been sound. Sapik will have to greet them, but Victor instead puts a bullet straight through his nose. Red Star as well looks to destroy Rolf's head, and all of a sudden it's a 3 versus 5. Young Ninjas, every single take, it just seems that Fiend are the ones that come up on top against them. And without getting any kills in the process, it doesn't give them any space to go for the retakes every single time.
This is just as strong of a start on Mirage for Fiend as Inferno was for Young Ninjas. I think it might even be better if they cannot hold on to their guns, but that's not going to be the case. It's an AWP, it's an AUG, it's an M4 being put in the rucksack and being taken back home. Fiend. They're going to pat Young Ninjas on the head. They're going to keep them at that nil mark. Not a single round being turned up just yet, but it is early in the game. Young Ninjas, they've got plenty of time to walk back into this.
Now, Fiend eager to get pushing on towards the B site once more. Han first to lead the charge overall. Fiend look like they're collected on their approach again. Not really spreading out substantially across the map. Only luring Bubble towards the ramp side. Nilo, talking about ramp, moves up towards A. Doesn't spot anyone, so we'll backtrack and may give information for Young Ninjas to get that rotation onwards. Give that call, perhaps, but he knows that there is some hiding out that could commence towards Palace. Jump coming through, and Han is quick on the trigger with that AWP. Sapik does get the kill to Bubble, but the space has already been given. Sapik draws back, waits for the reinforcements, because this take is going to come through, if they like it or not. Bomb will go down, and Fizzy only has to wait for his teammates to start pushing. The utility is available for them, but in his attempt to run away,
should be backing off.
Han destroys them. Red Star with the HE grenade onto Sapik. They've dwindled them down to 2 players, and all of a sudden, Fiend look dominant.
That was the underlying condition for the retake. If they lose the first player, they've got to back off. Unfortunately, though, the nade being basically a homing missile made sure that they have to get 2 casualties off the back of that first kill. But Fiend, they are looking dominant. Now you can see that 80% win rate maybe turning into 82. But what's the response that Young Ninjas go for? That's my question. You can see that the Pinnacle odds are starting to favor Fiend even a little bit more now. Even if Young Ninjas have that mark on the board, that shows that they've already won a map, which they did quite convincingly. It doesn't matter. If you do want to go check out those Pinnacle odds, Pavlos, why don't you guide us through the process?
I was going to say that you probably shouldn't do that because you're really bad at making bets or predictions on what's going on. But if you guys at home think you've got a better chance than Wildberry, then pinnacle.com/odds is the place to go. And by betting €10 on esports, you'll be getting €10 in return. But of course, you need to do that by signing up with the code CUP21 to give you that opportunity. Some terms and conditions do apply. And of course, I may have to point out to you guys that you need to bet responsibly. Only bet what you can afford. So the fun will only just be fun and nothing more detrimental than that. Fiend, though, they've got themselves a good start on the board. Young Ninjas have got a good enough buy to keep them strong into this, and there's contact to be found towards ramp now.
Yeah, they want to be proactive in how they play this. This aggression works out. 1-for-1 trade, but it's Victor to get the lineup and put Nilo out of commission. Fizzy responds. Becomes a more favorable duel now for the CT side as the T's take control. 1 in jungle, 1 getting ready for the bomb plant, and the flashes will be keeping them at bay. The vent still hasn't been broken, so that puts an additional blockade in the way of the CTs to try to push on through. But now Fiend, they can't go for the backstab either. 3 coming in from CT. How does this work out for them?
Bubble on the backside. Oh, he has shown his card. And for that reason, the Young Ninjas are wary of this Dreamer in that dark angle. Red Star misses out on the shot, but Dreamer is able to capitalize on that mistake. Red Star still holding it down, but Fizzy as well. As soon as he peeks through, he'll be a dead man. Hasn't jumped through. The patience was grand. Oh, the Molotov as well will put them at bay, but Fizzy is all by himself. Both of his teammates got completely slaughtered, and he will be greeting the same fate as them. 6-0 for Fiend. This is looking grand for them.
I love the little attention to detail from Bubble there. Even though he's not able to connect the shot, he goes for a pot shot regardless, because at the very least, that will make sure that Fiend can't push in, or rather Young Ninjas can't push in all 3 in CT, because they're worried about that flank. They have to attribute additional resources into it. And although Young Ninjas actually had a good start, their initiative to take control of ramp worked out in their favor. It's just that Victor got a little bit lucky and some skill went his way to make sure that the lineup would come through. Now, Fiend, they want to solidify this victory as much as they can. They are out for redemption, out for vengeance. And they've got blood dripping from their fangs.
Blood dripping through their fangs and blood dripping through Victor's body. Now eliminated, but Fiend get the better end of that stick. 3 versus 5, and now the site is theirs for the taking. Sapik, The smoke is perfect for Bubble. It deteriorates, but he's already crossed, so that's not really going to affect the whole outcome of this game. Young Ninjas, though, line up towards mid. Bubble could get challenged. Sapik is able to deal with him, so. And Nilo is coming from a different angle. We'll join in with them towards that side, but other than that, it is Fiend's game to play. Han has got that crosshair available on that location. Doubles up onto Rolf as well. He's now put an impact into the game we haven't seen over on Inferno, and that shows substantially. Sapik is all by himself, but the odds of him winning this round have dwindled completely out of control, and Fiend will continue with a winning streak. 7-0 after this bomb explosion. That is scary.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the scoreboard right now, the logo of Young Ninjas just serves as a 0 to complete the 007. Fiend, they're starting to run away with it. Young Ninjas. We're waiting for a response, aren't we, Pavlos?
Oh, we are. Like, where is that response? Where's the Young Ninjas we saw over in Inferno? Because they look so well-rounded, so good, but the aggression from mid may interrupt me in that talking point. Victor lines some shots through, but ZTR is so quick to respond that he doesn't give him any breathing space. Bubble, look at this, though. Fizzy is waiting on that angle, and will be killing him off before Bubble has a chance to even look at him. Rolf, this is looking a lot better from Young Ninjas, but Rolf has got a strong role to play in this. He's got the reinforcements. But Red Star and Dreamer have just come alive. 2 kills quickly going their way, and with a bomb going down, this still is within the realms of possibility for Fiend.
Oh man, Young Ninjas. They're trying to rush into this Harn. An additional smoke makes sure that another player will be kept at bay. Jumping through, bunny hopping. ZTR, he's been hitting the KZ, and it's paying off dividends. Red Star 1v2, 2 opposing angles, 180 degrees to catch one off guard. The AWP connects, and he'll be taken out. Young Ninjas, finally! They've put the first one on the tally.
Wow. At least they get themselves on the board, right? At least they get themselves a piece of that pie. It's a small one so far, but there's more available. To be precise, there are 30 pieces. And if extra are needed, I'm sure they will be ordered. Fiend, they're in a focused state. I think they're looking a lot better than they were previously. But they need to carry this through, because I know that Young Ninjas, they're hungry for more.
This is tricky to be in the shoes of the Young Ninjas at the moment, because their economy can spiral out of control at any time now. Nilo, he's got a lot of responsibility. Even gives himself a smoke to allow mobility forward. Harn, he has picked up the first frag, so I think Young Ninjas are already starting to doubt themselves. They're starting to question whether or not it's even worth going for a retake like this. So they'll be backing off, you know, not much action to be seen here. And now the big question for them is whether or not they can hold on to their guns, because Bubble is out for the hunt.
The search is on. Yep, I think Fiend have got the round in the wraps already. Even though there was a glimpse of hope for Young Ninjas, it's already been slaughtered. If it was a flame, it was thrown into a pit of water. And just because of taking things further, that bucket of water was thrown into a lake.
Okay, so 4 guns being saved, that allows them to get another buy, yes. But you're looking at a Fiend that is teetering on the edge of double digits. You only need a couple more, and they've got lots of bank to work with as well. The problem for Young Ninjas is that their initiative simply hasn't been working out, and it looks like they're going for it again. Nilo, he might have just given up his information, and Victor, he wants another lineup. This time, he only gets away with damage, but Red Star is in hot pursuit. Fizzy will be able to save a teammate, but for how long? Dreamer has come out swinging. Nilo climbs up on top of Palace and makes good use of the AUG, and a nade will follow through to pick up Harn and Bubble. He's landed a bit of damage, but that's not just enough yet. Harn narrowly evades death as the nade will land a little bit to the right. 3v2.
It is a 3v2, and Fiend has struggled to find themselves onto the site so far. They haven't really gained too much ground. And they are down in numbers, as you mentioned. Young Ninjas, they spread out. They want to make sure that all tracks are covered, and with Rolf's angle there, he knows that the rotation hasn't commenced towards the B site. Fairly intelligent as well, because that limits the position of Sapik to that jungle side. And if the call is made, if they do manage to cross without the kill being pulled off from Rolf, they will still have plenty of players on the site there to deal with this with the take. But no, they know where to spend their numbers. They know exactly what is going on. And as the time reaches that 25-second mark, Sapik will be the first man to be challenged from the Young Ninja side, spotting out one and spots out Han as well. Nilo comes out from the shadows and delivers a killing blow on Han to put a cherry on top. Young Ninjas, they're still in it.
Couple rounds have managed to pick it up. Once again heading on over to the terrorist side. That gives them some leeway to work with as far as comebacks are concerned, but I actually think that Young Ninjas have been unsuccessful in winning out duels more than anything, because their reaction to Fiend having a lot of control was to take more initiative, was to send up 3 players in mid, send players in B apartments, have an AWP position close up ramp, have players with AUGs rush down ramp with a Molotov. So those are all correct decisions to pressure Fiend a lot more, to isolate duels. But if you isolate duels and you cannot win out on them, that's something that Fiend will be happy to run away with. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen on the server at the moment. Young Ninjas, 2-1-2 setup. And Fiend, they're playing a very split style of play as well. Sapik, he's been able to spot, his barrel's been spotted out, so Red Star tries to take advantage of it. A Molotov keeps him at bay, makes sure that he has to run out of jungle, gives Fiend some more mobility.
Fiend now moving towards the A site now. Multiple players, multiple angles now pushing through. Young Ninjas, it looks like they're prepared for it, and already ZTR is a quick pursuit. Red Star and Bubble find the first shots through, and Sapik hasn't had his mark solidified on the map, hasn't shown his position either. Goes for a trigger that's in play and runs the trigger onto his opponent. Bubble capitalizes on that position. Fiend is still ahead. 4 versus 2 Han as well. Will not let Fizzy reign supreme any longer. ZTR is all that is left. The remnants of Young Ninja. And slowly but surely, he's shut down as well. Fiend, they make sure that nothing else is said from the Young Ninja side.
This interruption in the streak of rounds, the fact that Young Ninjas are unable to chain together more than 1 round at any point in time, I mean, they've only gotten 2. This also doesn't let their economy build up at all. So when we're looking at the last vestiges of the half, unfortunately, we're looking at a barren Young Ninjas that do not have any guns in their back pockets. Well, if I'm going to mention back pockets, maybe that's the only place they're going to have guns, because they've only got Desert Eagles. Nothing strapped onto their back like an AWP or an AK. Fiend. They're heading on over to the A site. The bomb being positioned the way it is does telegraph to us that they eventually want to hit this bomb site. And the one lurking player, he will eventually be joining them as well, just making sure that nobody peeks through on the flank. Oh, they're actually changing their mind. I think the intention was to give an audio cue, make sure that just one player stays in Palace. Eventually, he's going to be the one that keeps them on the A bomb site, and that might work out in their favor, because look at how Young Ninjas are responding to the audio cues. They've repositioned 4 players, 1 watching connector, 3 playing for ramp and Palace, and they've only left 1 defender on the B bomb site. Problem is, the bomb is still not close to any of the bomb site, and the time is ticking down. So this is where they need to start showing their cards a little bit more. Even at the risk of repositions, they've got to do it.
Yeah, and I think they just have Flash coming through, Smoke as well to give Young Ninjas some space, but Han is able to capitalize on ZTR's position across that mid. That's going to delay the rotations, and Ruffle is all by himself for quite some time. Repositioning's coming in through from Market, so Fiend need to act fast. Dream and Victor both putting head through their opponents. Is Nilo as well, putting a shot through his opponent's skull, and Victor does continue shutting his opponents down. In a matter of seconds, this round is over. Young Ninjas, although their approach was very quick, although they were very swift on their feet to get themselves on site, Fiend, with the superior weapons, are able to take this round over to approach that double digits mark.
This is a complete wash-up from Fiend. Young Ninjas. It's almost as if Fiend saw Inferno and they're like, you know what? We're going to take it right back from you. And speaking of taking things back, if you head on over to pinnacle.com/Oz, you can take advantage of an offer where if you deposit 10 euros, you get 10 euros back as a bonus. So do make sure that you will you get the benefits of that, but you have to use the code CUP21 when you sign up on their website. Terms and conditions do apply, and make sure you only bet what you can afford to lose and gamble responsibly.
I love how the spirits of Young Ninjas are really high right now. I love how the mentality exists. It's the motivators are fist bumps, hands on their shoulders, showing that they're doing a good job. Little things like that really do help out at the end of the day. And it helps them keep their head in the game, not get too distracted by the current scoreline. Because Sapik is still doing a good job, right? 4-1 in duels against Bubble, still very decent. It's not like they're losing by a margin in these rounds. Obviously, the takes from Fiend are dominant, but I feel once they manage to staple themselves at least to yet another round, they can perhaps start to scrape their way through. But with Fiend's determination, that is not going to be an easy prospect, at least seeing, especially now that they've gotten that player's deficit in this round. Fiend is holding most of the cards. And for Young Ninjas, it's a matter of finding them.
The bomb making its way towards the B bomb site now. Actually, maybe they joined from mid. No, that's not the case, but there's only 50 seconds on the clock. This does favor Young Ninjas because not only do Fiend commit to the B bomb site with fewer players, they also have to go against a 3 versus 2 sort of setup, which favors the CT side. So the numerical advantage actually ends up going to Young Ninjas if this is the way they approach it. But now they have an additional form of help coming in from short, and this will make things a lot harder.
Dreamer is the first man to pull a shot ahead.
Oh,
the
look
A
at
site
this.
is
They're
clear
backing
for
up.
him. They backed up. They're not going for the B site. But something they haven't really figured out is where Nilo lies. Still on ramp, still unchecked. And Dreamer hasn't covered that position. Right now, the call for Fiend is that, hey guys, the A site is clear. But is it though? Victor checks in that position, and Nilo is able to challenge him. Does get spotted out, so still, there is a chance.
No.
But no, denied. Han puts a bullet straight through Nilo's heart, and with Dreamer capitalizing onto Rolf, Fiend just looks stronger by the second.
One really important detail to note here is that Fiend, although they didn't know the position of Nilo, they're still very careful about how they approach it. They threw out a smoke for connector, so if they do try to plant, they can't get intercepted from a player that's in B short. And if there's somebody in ramp, they have to peek out because trying to interrupt the bomb plant in the smoke is a lot harder. So they sort of covered all bases in that regard. That's why Nilo had to peek out, and that's why they were able to get the kill early on, pick up the bomb, and get the bomb plant. Young Ninjas now, Fiend, they're stuffing rounds into their pockets right now. This is looking even more convincing than the victory we saw from Young Ninjas on map number 1.
Nilo, this is greedy. Doesn't even have any reinforcements. And Han will punish. There's nothing really Young Ninjas can do. If they get shut down like that, Sapik, you can still see that there is some question marks being brought out currently because they're under pressure. It's visible. And for that reason, Sapik's considerably easy line of fire could have paid off with a kill. Doesn't quite pay off. Fizzy does do some damage. It is a dent into Fiend's economy, but at this point, reaching an economical deficit is definitely not on the line. ZTR doing some extra damage, but like I said, 1 round remaining. Economical deficit is not what they were looking for. They were looking for the round. And Fiend, they look really strong this first half.
It's a bit disappointing to see that oftentimes we see Young Ninjas with the right play, but it still doesn't end up working out for them. And that's mad props to Fiend. How are they able to get this kind of mechanical form out of themselves after losing a map so significantly? Oh, Harn almost had the shot there. That would have been a massive dent in the Young Ninja side. A thorn that they could not be pulling out. You can see that they're still going for the same approach. Have a little bit of initiative, but Fiend seem to be able to fake them out long enough that they're not able to capitalize. So one thing that does work out for Fiend in this instance is that because their initial approach is to have a split style of play where refrags are not available, Young Ninjas aren't actually able to pick off individuals because of how passively they're playing. Yes, basic isolations would mean that Young Ninjas have a better chance at getting picks. Unfortunately, Fiend know this, and they're playing incredibly passively to compensate for that early on in these T-side rounds.
Fiend approaching Catwalk currently, and I think ZTR spotted them hard, quick to react though, and no attention really given, well, no further attention can be given towards that Catwalk side because it's fully in their favor. Nilo, talking about attention span, well, he was looking towards Catwalk. And for that reason, we'll get punished towards Palace. No longer checking the corner he should have done. And for that reason, Fiends will find easy pickings across the map. He is the final surviving member, but he's struggling to find the kills. Second shot's the charm, but Victor is the one to put a bullet straight through his skull. And for that reason, Fiends are dominantly ahead with a 13-2 scoreline.
I know we talk about how it could all hinge on the pistol round, but if Fiend win this pistol round, it would actually be over in a snap. It would just be GG. There's no coming about it. If they win this pistol round, then they basically have a free shot at the next two. Yes, because they're on the T side, they still end up with Galils, but Fiend are heavily favored to take this. That map victory on map number 1, it is no longer even a concern for Fiend. They know that they're going to be taking it to Overpass. Young Ninjas, they're I mean, Ninjas might be famous for disappearing and whatnot, but it seems like their chances at this map is disappearing, but they'll be heading straight on to the bomb side. Dreamer and Harn, yeah, these are easy pickings, my man.
Simple. Very simple. They walk into their crossfires. We thought Young Ninjas' win against Fiend and under Inferno was a one-sided affair. Well, think again. Because I think Fiend had brought on an Una reverse card, which has just stunned the Young Ninjas, and they have no idea what to do with it.
Fiend had 4 rounds, and we were like, yeah, okay, this is a bit concerning, but Young Ninjas have been left with half of that. That's 2. That's such a margin to be holding the enemy team to. Fiend, now they're showing us why they're the big boys of the top 20 to 25 scene.
Where do you attribute this change of pace, though? Because how quickly the tempo of the game can change is insane. It just seems like Fiend slapped themselves on the face and said, focus, let's get in this, let's frag out like we know how to. And it looks like they'll do that once again. Obviously, with the pistols of Young Ninjas, it's going to be in its simple affair. But that's going to put them now on map points.
Mm-hmm. Do you hear that sound, Pavlos? It's the sound of the GGWP being typed. And it's coming from Fiend's keyboards. Apparently.
Oh, man. No, what's coming out from Fiend's keyboards is GG easy.
Yeah, imagine having the audacity to type GG easy after you win a map after you just lost 16-4.
Yeah, no,
that would be something.
That would be a little bit of a BM approach. But Young Ninjas, they went for the full-on eco last time, which does mean they've got AK-47s to work around this time. Dreamer with a close angle with a FAMAS, making it work. Sapik and Fizzy, do they expect Han in that angle? No, they do not. Bomb now dropped. That's the information that Feed require. They've got the numbers advantage as well. Nilo will look to punish from the apartment side, but Red Star is there to deliver. 1v3, and I think Sapik is the final nail in their own little coffin. The final player to fall. Fiend, they've done their job. They've closed things out in a very quick fashion on map number 2. And even though the bomb has been picked up, well, not yet. He's struggling to find it, actually. Well, but now he has 16-2, even more dominant than the previous map. And it's Overpass to decide the outcome of this matchup. Just here in their first match of the Pinnacle Cup main Swiss stage. My name is Xor, of course, with Wild Deity, bringing you the action as we are heading into this map, with Fiend equalizing the scoreline when it comes to maps, but in an even more dominant fashion than they went off on that first one. 16-2. How do we feel about this one, man? Because, if Young Ninjas close things out in a 16-1 fashion, I will be starting to think there's a script at play.
Yeah, but Young Ninjas, I really liked how they were able to be dominant, but then Fiend turned it right back around. They half the number of rounds that the Ninjas are able to get. I don't think another halving will be done here. To be honest, I don't think Overpass is a map like that, but any dominance that they had in the first map was completely taken away.
If you add the rounds together, I think this could be a contender to one of the shortest maps, rounds being spent and going to a third map.
Yeah.
If you add things up, basically the scoreline between the two teams is 20 to 18.
Yeah, that's basically an overtime.
That's basically an overtime game. Fiend slowing the pace very slow from the start here. Keeping Fiend in the dark, and well, keeping Young Ninjas in the dark. Together collectively now pushing towards the A site, but I think a couple of players from the Young Ninja side have already pushed out from short, so that's a lot of information given, and therefore the rotations will come from the backside of A to be reinforcing that A site. Close though. Nilo will hear a lot of audio cues and may even go for the backstab here, not really showing his mark. They will start pushing through. He's missing out on a lot of the shots, but finally connects one. Does get traded through. Dreamer as well chimes in. Fiend, they've got themselves the ace site, but Young Ninjas, they're circulating around it, trying to close them in. But the fact that Fiend are stronger when it comes to that circle, it means they're able to reinforce it even further. Backstab upon backstab. Han comes in behind and snaps Sapic's head to 2. Victor destroying his opponent, but no, actually Rolf is able to distinguish him. Young Ninjas, there's only one player left for them, and that's Fizzy. Finding 1 kill in his endeavor, but he's got to deal with another 2. Bomb ticking away. He's got a defuse kit. He will try and touch it. Smoke being dropped. And I think his only chance is sticking this, trying to evade the bullets, but no. Han is able to deliver some shots onto his back, and it is Fiend to get themselves that first round.
Yeah, the way he tried to evade the bullets actually just reminded me of how at some point the bomb wouldn't stop getting diffused even if you were spinning around. So it was the good old tried and tested classic strategy of having a 16,000 DPI button on your mouse and just spinning around like a Beyblade. Fiend. Okay, they want to start things off strong just like they did in Mirage, and it seems like they're carrying some of the momentum through. They're just gonna walk right into toilets with a couple nades, and that gives them a fair bit of leeway because Fizzy, he's been taken out of the server. Rolf wants to no longer aggress because he recognizes that his Deagle will probably be ripped out of his hands if he tries to peek, but perhaps he does have a shot here. Sapic playing all the way in the corner. Did he get left unchecked? CZ, okay, it's connected for a couple, and Victor, he's even taken a headshot to complement it.
Yeah, Fiend with the advantage, still haven't gained too much ground, at least. They will attempt to hold down this connector area as Streamers checking that no one is lurking within the shadows. They themselves will pop out of it. Red Star, damage inflicted. Rolf down to half. The aggression will ensue. ZTR closing in as well. Will Victor expects this? Yes, he does. Dreamer connects the headshot. So does Han. ZTR gets one before it's fallen. Nilo down with a scout, though, all by himself. Does put one bullet straight through Dreamer's eyes, but apart from that, there's nothing much he can do. He's down to 6 points of health. Bomb will get planted. If he wallbangs Red Star, that could be the finishing blow onto him, but he misses out on all of the shots. Han, he's got a good position there, and he's able to capitalize on it. 2-0 for the Fiend side.
Pavlos, do you think they're going to power through just like before? Because I do think they're quite comfortable on Overpass, but it's also a map where some of the individual talent from Young Ninjas might start to come to the light. Honestly, I'm quite glad that we're seeing Overpass as a decider, because it's a change of pace from maps like Inferno and Mirage. I do think Mirage was a bit puggier of an affair, but at the same time, Overpass couldn't be further from that. Fiend. Do they sprawl right in? The bull in a china shop strategy will not be at play for B at the moment. Although if it did come through, they'd just be executing against an empty bomb site anyway. All 5 players from Young Ninjas, they've got their eyes set on A. Potentially looking to catch out a lurker, but what they don't realize is that Fiend, they've committed all of their resources to the B bomb site, and that bird's eye view just showed us that.
Yeah, that boost is becoming more and more popular, hasn't it? It's no longer a surprising play at this point. It's something that you sort of expect out of a team on an eco round from time to time. Not exactly an expectation, but knowing that it is within the playbook of most of the teams in this caliber now. I really like how Dreamer and Victor didn't invest at all this round. Knowing that they can play aggressive without fearing losing their lives in that prospect, losing out on weapons. They've got Kevlar though, Kevlar and Helmet. But no weapon, making sure that even within a loss, they can still bounce back. Only losing out one player throughout the process. That explosion eliminated the entire Swedish squad, but it's Fiend to run up ahead 3-0.
This is where Young Ninjas can start to claw back into it. They've got an AWP for Fizzy, but I don't know, man. I feel like Fizzy hasn't been as impactful of an opera as you would see on the counterpart, as you would see in the form of maybe Harn or Red Star. But this is his chance to prove himself. Even on Inferno, yes, they did win by a landslide, but I don't think that they wouldn't have if Fizzy wasn't part of the equation. So, this is his chance to show us what he's made of. If he can take initiative, if he can be the game changer when he's got the magic stick. Avoids a flashbang. Victor put in the grave. Another shot to the head. And as I've mentioned it, suddenly he's been granted some secret power.
If that third kill connected, I decided to bow down to him and call him my god. But he eventually does finish off that third kill. And while Harn is looking to be a menace on the other side of the map, he hasn't really succeeded too much, has he? Having now to fall back, with young ninjas lurking everywhere in the map, Harn needs to take his opponent's name quite literally and become a ninja himself to slither himself away from all of these opponents. Because they're hiding in every nook and cranny. And one corner that ZTR was hiding in, that Harn didn't check, will be the one that will kill him off in the end.
I do think the odds favor Fiend a little bit more now, considering the fact that they had an insane performance on map number 2. And there's no reason for them to not power on through. I mean, Young Ninjas might have interrupted it, but let's see if they can continue this kind of streak. But if you do want to bet on the odds, make sure you go ahead and check out pinnacle.com/odds. If you sign up using the code CUP21, you can get a bonus of €10 on a €10 deposit. Bet responsibly and make sure that you read the terms and conditions because they do apply. And while you're over at Pinnacle, if you're going to make a deposit, why not check out our other partners over at Trustly, because they're a payment gateway that require no cards, no registration, and no app. They're going to make your payments very seamless, jumping from account to account.
Let's see if Fiend can make a seamless transition from their streak being broken now. They can bring things back now to 4th. Milo, he's in an off angle. He runs away with 1 kill and damage onto Red Star. I think that's worth it. But what is not really worth it is the fact that now, Young Ninjas, they need to polarize their players across the map. Which makes things really difficult when it comes to takes. Well, it comes to holds, actually, because takes become extremely easier. For that reason now, they will be punishing that B site while having a 4-2 advantage. Couple of fronts being what Fiend is looking for. Young Ninjas, they've repositioned as well to have control over Heaven if required. Molly out from Dreamer, and now they're going to start pushing in, waiting for that flashbang, and Bubble will peek through, finding the first person, but not quite killing him. Sapuk will be greeting him with bullets to his body, but it is a 3v4 endeavor, and Fiend are going to back away from it. Realize that Young Ninjas have heavily occupied the B site and want to get themselves quickly on towards A. But little do they know, there's plenty of Swedes still waiting for them there.
Because he's got to hit his shots as they come through, hits him through the van. Or the truck. Not a van by any means, it's pretty massive for a van.
Yeah.
And Fiend. Yeah, they don't even get a chance at contesting this round. Fizzy is there and waiting. And where I initially mentioned that perhaps Fizzy wasn't having the same impact as you would expect from an Opper, now that's not the case anymore. In fact, he's leading the charge all across the board. Albeit not by too many kills, but you know that in both of those rounds, he's had a solid impact. 3K and a 2K, that's all they needed. Now, the scoreline to be potentially tied up if Young Ninjas can take it, but Fiend still have a fighting chance here. Their weaponry will be quite limited, but because they have Harn behind the scope, perhaps things can be a different outcome. Dreamer and Bubble, they will be significantly handicapped by the idea that they don't really have rifles. Fizzy takes out the opposing AWP player. Does that sniper actually get recovered? That's the big question.
Well, they do have ground to recover it, and Bubble will make sure he gets a hold of it. He only had a pistol, so it's not like he's replacing it with a rifle or anything. So he's still better off than he previously was personally. But as I say that, it looks like Fizzy's got bullets that are magneted towards other players who are holding AWPs, because Bubble quickly loses his life in that endeavor. Good performance from that young man, and they continue to reign supreme across the map, putting their presence towards Connector as well, making sure that Fiend are limited in their rotations, and Fizzy only finding Red Star for another time. Make that a 4th kill for him. Beautifully done.
It seems like the question of Fizzy's competence as an AWP player has suddenly sparked a fire within him. I mean, it's not like he can hear us, but man, this is something. And Fiend, they're starting to lose their grip over their economy. Young Ninja still, although they botched the second map and it wasn't really a great affair for them, they still have the potential to close out the series, and in the grand scheme of things, that is what matters. Sopik playing up close and personal in Connector, but I don't think he's going to be finding any duels. Fiend slowly aggressing A. They've gotten control of toilets, and the bomb will be joining them as well. Still some indecision from the side of Fiend. And Young Ninjas, they haven't approached anything just yet.
I really haven't, but I think Nyla will be finding contact soon. Bubble says hello. Slightly unfriendly hello. Slightly an unfriendly version of a hello, at least, as it does entail killing your opponent. But still, Fiend, if they carry this onwards, it would look impressive. ZTR, though, he knows what he needs to get done, and he's able to perform with 2 kills. Still, that's a rifle to be recovered. Can they find it? M4 and A-King now in the hands of Bubble and Red Star, respectively, but Dreamer, he's got an idea here, and I think it's really strong. It's the backstab on the backstab for yet another time. It's the Una reverse card on the Una reverse card, wary of it, 1 for 1, they get traded through. Well, that's entertaining. But the fact that Fiend are lured out of the sight, Young Ninja still have a chance on this. Bomb now stuck. Fizzy got a strong role to play. Spray down coming through. But the bomb has been defused just in time, and Fizzy collects both kills.
This is solid work from Young Ninjas. That was very interesting. And that a little backstab on a backstab.
Just reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode. You're in a simulation, inside a simulation, inside another simulation. It's basically, it's a backstab. Behind another backstab. Behind, yeah, no, it didn't get that far.
Unfortunately, we only see 2. Would have been entertaining if we saw a couple more, but...
Oh, that would have been cool.
Oh, yeah. But Fiend are back on their weaponry, and Harn gets... What was that, Sapek? He was dabbing, he had his eyes covered, and somehow, as he's walking across, he's managed to get the kill. Bubble now switching over to the AK, gets shot through the smoke as well from Sapek. This is complete destruction. 3 kills coming his way, but Dreamer's quickly recovered. It's 2-on-3. The bomb, not in the T-side control. Rolf wants to push through the smoke, but now he's given up his position. Red Star is looking around the corners of this smoke, can't quite find anything, and Rolf will be the one that comes out on top. Dreamer goes for the backstab, but there's the backstab on the backstab, and ZTR will win it out in the end.
Well, who would have thought that would have happened? Young Ninjas early getting the advantage, getting quickly on their feet with those kills. An amazing shot from Sapek that I have no idea how it came to place, but the follow-up was even greater. Even though Dreamer recovered, it did become a 2v2. It was a smoke dance-off that gave them the victory. Young Ninjas, they can be happy about that, as they are now quite heavily in command of this game. With Fiends weaker by, they can continue in their ways.
Fiend. Yeah, this weak buy isn't really favoring them, is it? Sapek once again with the M4. Want to see if he can have the same impact. Connects to Spray, tries to run away into the waters, but he doesn't get a chance. Dreamer, 2 opening kills, and the player in Toxic has been spotted out as well. So a triple entry to get him onto the bomb site, and he's looking for more, but the 4K will not come through. Now, it's somewhat doable for Young Ninjas, but as I say that, a nade comes flying through from the heavens, and Nilo will be put in the grave. The coffin tightly shut, and Fizzy clutching onto that AWP.
Well, he'll be clutching onto that with his life. But if his life gives way, then he'll also be giving away that AWP.
Mm-hmm. This
Which
could
is
actually be...
why Bubble's actually looking for him as well.
Yeah,
Red Star as
maybe.
well. They're on hot pursuit. I think they try and corner him into this position. Red Star is waiting. He's waiting basically for the rotation to come in from Bubble to potentially lure him out of that position. Now Fizzy knows, but Bubble hasn't given away any Q. Though he's expecting it. Wasn't quite sure that would have been the case. And as said, with Fizzy dropping, the AWP may drop as well.
Yeah, that's a lot of money being saved on the terrorist side because a lot of their gameplay largely hinges around Harn being able to get individual picks. So if they can save some money on that AWP deal, I think they're very happy about it. Young Ninjas, right now, a lot of their game plan is centered around Fizzy being able to find those frags. And I think he's been doing that just fine. I mean, 10 out of 10 op kills in the last 7 rounds. Not too shabby, buddy. Fizzy maybe looking for a bit more initiative as far as the angle is concerned, but since he doesn't spot anything on that boost, now he's taking an alternative approach. Watching party. And I don't think Fiend are regressing without a flashbang anytime soon. Coming all the way over, they are committing 4 players to long. This could actually work out in Fizzy's favor because if they only send out 1 player in Playground, there will be nobody on the refrag, and Nilo doesn't manage to catch Dreamer, and the man who previously got 3 entry frags will be getting one once more.
I love the patience on Dreamer there. He knew that he didn't have to aggress. He knew that at some point Young Ninjas would have peeked that corner. And as he said, Bubble sticking around onto Party, but Sapik will push through here. He'll catch them off guard. One shot connected. Wrestler goes for the repeat. Does get the kill eventually, but it is a 3v4. Still, Young Ninjas at a disadvantage, but quick on their feet to rejoice onto that site. They're happy about it. Harn being destroyed. Bubble as well. ZTR, he's done his job. But Red Star, can he bring things back for Fiend? He's being challenged and Dreamer is too far away. They're separated, but they need to regroup together. Can they do it?
Yeah, ZTR has done a commendable job at keeping them off the bomb, and now they've only got 15 seconds remaining, so Young Ninjas, they're winning this tug of war at the moment. It'll be so hard for them to get onto the site, get the bomb down, and Red Star might have just granted them an opportunity. Fizzy, all it needs to do is peek out and get the kill. Bomb not interrupted in time, and now it's anyone's game.
Time-wise, it really worked out as Rolf was only on that rotation spectrum, but Rolf able to get the kill into Red Star. Dreamer able to capitalize on that. Now down to a 1v1. Fizzy with that AWP and Dreamer with that AK hiding out behind the bank. He's got the sight of the bomb, so if it does get touched, it can be handled. Fizzy waiting on that angle. It's a small one, but with a scope, it helps out. A bullet goes straight between his eyes, and that will be him defusing the bomb, and that will be Young Ninjas pulling up ahead.
It's once again Fizzy leading the charge, which is very impressive. When you're playing against oppers that are the likes of Red Star and Harn, it's tough to do that. A lot of your ability will be... well, it can be taken out of your hands if there's also a competent opper on the enemy side, but it doesn't seem like he's very unhinged about it. I don't think he's particularly bothered by the idea that there may be a competent opper on the other side as well. Now Fiend, they're going to have to deal with the aggression that Nilo is putting up. Comes out with a supportive flashbang, gets a headshot, knows he can back off because passivity is the name of the game once you've gotten the advantage. As the CT side, now they've pressured Fiend into showing a bit more proactiveness.
That proactiveness will be spotted now from Fizzy, but the timing, oh dear, doesn't quite fall into place for him. That gives Fiend a clear advantage point from where they can start to trickle on through. But ZTR, that's a sneaky weapon to have into that corner. Oompa Loompas, I like to call it, can be a menace when it comes to these positions. Flash coming through, but no, overwhelmed by how many players are holding down that angle and is eventually sprayed down. Fizzy, there's a task ahead of him, and he needs to deal with it. He's got reinforcements, though, and they're also coming in from behind. Sapik, look at this. They line up for him. One shot coming his way, but Dreamer's aggression will be dealt with by Nilo. 7-4. Young Ninjas, they actually look a lot stronger than they did on Mirage.
Right now, Young Ninjas have incredibly impeccable timing. Their backstabs are perfect. Their flash peeks are perfect. They're able to take initiative on mid just at the right times. And individually, even if they don't have backup, the players are winning out on their duel. So two of the things that they were messing up on Mirage, they have somehow been fixed. And this is why it is leading into a win, or at least a round lead on Overpass. But in the meantime, why don't you quickly tell us a little bit more about Pinnacle, Pavlos?
Yeah, no, it's a good spot. Pinnacle making this whole tournament possible. It's called the Pinnacle Cup after all, but ladies and gentlemen, there is an offer that they are having at hand right now. 10 euros in on your bet in esports. Like at pinnacle.com/odds, you can get 10 euros in return as well. So that's a really good offer for you guys if you want to try them out. Of course, you need to be a new customer and you need to use the code CUP21. Remember though, betting should only be for fun reasons. So when the fun stops, stop and don't bet more than you cannot afford. But other than that, Young Ninjas, they're showing dominance right now. I want to see that continue because I really like young teams perform. I don't know if I told you before that, Wild Daily, but I really like when the young guns show that they can bring a lot to the table, though. The old guns, Fiend, they're looking to challenge here on towards mid. ZTI better deliver onto Bubble, and now he's been spotted out. Tries to find refuge between the smoke, throws down the nade to do that extra damage, and I think he will do that. Dreamer spots him, though, and will get the finishing blow in that regard. But their sights are clearly onto that B site.
Oh no, this time around, the backstab doesn't work because they're anticipating it. Young Ninjas, they have the numerical advantage. Will Sapik be able to hold down the line all to his lonesome? He does have some support from Heaven, and actually Rolf is watching the angle as well. So it's not like Fiend can move right in. They've got a Molotov at the ready, and the Incendiary will be keeping them at bay for just a little bit longer, but this allows Fiend to maybe recalibrate their decision. Perhaps they go back. Maybe they reroute over to Monster, and it does seem like that is going to be their final decision. With 40 seconds remaining, I don't think they want to go all the way back up connector now at any time possible. Sapik watching short, Rolf watching long. Does manage to get two on the spray down, and even a third. Tries to switch around, leaves it down to just Fizzy and Dreamer. He's always been the man on those clutches, but can he deliver when it comes to the pressure of completing that 4K? Fizzy trying to get onto the B bomb site, but now he's probably anticipating that Dreamer will want to go all the way around to the A site. Walking as well, so the information won't be given up, but can Dreamer get there in time?
I think timing is the master. You would have expected, but it doesn't pay off. Fizzy, he has no fear. Imagine if it worked out. My heart was racing, but Dreamer was ready for it. He's just too quick. Crisis averted at least, and the Bulgarians may rest in peace.
I mean, I really like the approach. Execution wasn't great, but... Oh, it actually wasn't Sapik that ended up getting the second kill on the spray down. Sorry, it wasn't Rolf that ended up getting it. It was Sapik that ended up helping him out in that instance, but it doesn't matter. Very good spray down regardless. Young Ninjas, they've been brought down to the hand cannons. The super upgraded pistols, the Super Saiyan Glocks, and one of them has been taken out of their hands. Red Star didn't even have to put too much effort into it, just carve himself out a shot that a toddler could have hit. Nice little press of the mouse one is all he needs.
Nilo having to fall back. Not sure if he's been spotted there really. Red Star, few shots through the dark. Though Nilo does get challenged from Connector as well with Dreamer's aggression. And it's paid off. Yeah, not looking great for Young Ninjas, but I think this is the game that we've been promised already. After this first two maps being extremely in favor of the team that has won it, basically. 16-4, 16-2. I think we're worthy of seeing a very close endeavor and Overpass. And I'm really excited by how things are unfolding currently.
After seeing two maps being dominant for either side, I think this is a pretty predictable outcome that the final one would be back and forth because both teams have shown that they have the tools needed to completely decimate the other. And this would be such a satisfying end to a series. For there to be two very dominant games and then for them to battle it out. Oh, that's a bit of a scratch that they've taken. Fiend. Don't want to take any prisoners. Oh, I think Bubble anticipates this. Never mind.
Well, yeah, never mind. Oh well. But
That's
the
the thing I
aggression
was
shown
talking
from Young
about.
Ninjas, look at the movement that they've gained. That's a lot of information, which causes the rotation to come back onto the A site. The reinforcements have arrived, which does allow Nilo to gain some extra space here. Through the smoke does remain coveted. But as it does fade out, that weapon will surely be shown. Fizzy does get one, and now they expect him to be in this angle. Han peeks through, headshot connected. Oh, that was spicy. And it seemed like Young Ninjas couldn't have challenged that at all. Fiend, they're well on their way to find that equalizer now. With a bomb going down and 2 players remaining, the hopes of Young Ninjas taking this round home are near to nothing.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to mention is that I really like when players actively use the one-way effect of a smoke as it's fading by sitting inside it. And that's how Bubble was caught off guard, because he can't see anything around the smoke, but they can as it's fading. You know, I mean, it is often a confusing mechanic, but if you can work around it, you can use it to your advantage. Fiend, they've brought it to the equalizer. No team looks convincing right now. Either team can take it away. But for the CT side, for Fiend, I think when they do get to that pistol round, it'll be important regardless of the scoreline. Even if they have 8, even if they have 7, because either team just wants to control the economy at this point.
You said it, yeah, economy. I think Overpass is one of those maps that the CT side heavily relies on that economy to be dominant, right? The utility, the holes that you can take by having so many nades at your disposal, while having the proper weaponry to deal with all those rushes. It's definitely very important. So as you said, the pistol round will be the deciding thing. So this round likely to go towards Fiend if you're looking at the firepower, but I don't think anything has been decided yet. Especially seeing that no kill has gone to any side just yet.
Last round of the first half. Fizzy, this time he's got a scout rifle, but can he have the same impact as an AWP? Harn is watching the angle now, so he can't really peek out. Harn doesn't care if a flashbang is in his face. He's gonna end up finding the kill regardless. Doesn't matter to him. Oh, this has to be a cleanup. Yeah, Fiend. They're gonna make it look very convincing as well as they head out. Rolf, last man remaining, holding on to the M4 like a plushie because more than the bullets, he just needs comfort at this point in time.
Sitting in the shadows. Yeah, I don't know how the lyrics go after that. But I hope
me
you
neither.
know what song I'm referencing.
No, not at all.
Oh, no.
It's probably a knowledge gap here or there.
Yeah, oh well.
I'm just not like the cool kids that listen to music. Oh, okay, Rolf. what was that?
Oh, that was cool. That was cool. Imagine
like,
if he pulled it off as well. Now, that would be something. But I give him the A for effort. A+ for effort.
It almost got to that 3-man lineup. That was scary. Okay.
Yeah, I think you can take a few breaths now. I think we can head back into it. But thankfully, the replay powered by Trustly is giving us an insight on how that exactly happened. Yeah, with a simple lineup. Yeah, it nearly did become a third.
Had that pesky wall not been in the way.
Yeah, walls just sometimes fly at you, don't they? But it's this very important pistol round, isn't it, Wildaddy? Series defining. And Fizzy looks to push forwards. Fizzy just decides to show him his back. Maybe he's got a new tattoo or something, but it doesn't quite pay off. What does pay off is them eluding them to the B-bomb site, meaning there's not much opposition to be held on this A site. Should be a simple take. Everyone is out of sight. But the retake from Fiend is strong. They've got 5 players, but the reposition from Young Ninjas is looking to catch them off guard. Sapik is able to grab out 2. Red Star eager to get himself back into this. Down to a one-on-one, and Bubble is so darn low. He's barely breathing, he's barely standing, his head is dangling off his neck. But he's able to walk towards his opponent. Nilo only needs to square one shot onto his opponent, wherever it may be. Bomb touched, and that gives away his position. Nilo gets the kill, and it's Young Ninjas to square up the scoreline.
They can use this as a ramp to just power on through in the next 3 rounds, but I don't think Fiend will allow them this sort of comfort. What a way to end this series, Paulos. I mean, we're looking at 8-8, neck and neck. I'm willing to say that this might be one of those overtime games.
Oh, I think you may be right. Because none of these teams seem to be running away from each other anytime soon. They're locked
but there is...
in a handshake, if you will.
Yes.
A fist lock.
A fist lock. I have no idea what that means.
I have no idea either. But imagine them trying to pull away from each other. But they're still holding hands and, I don't know, breaking away, you lose.
It's like the manliest handshake in the world.
Yes.
But what I do want to mention when we actually get back to the game, actual piece of analysis rather than just us talking about handshakes, is the fact that Fizzy was incredibly impactful on the CT side as an AWP player, but so were Harn and Red Star when they were on the T side. Whether or not Fizzy is going to be able to do just as much damage when he's on the T, that's something we're going to have to wait and find out. So whoever does have that going in their favor, they might just end up winning out the rounds more often. The Eagles, not really working out too well, and I did expect it to be a bit of a throwaway round, so did have to talk all the way over, but yeah.
No, it was a throwaway round. Absolutely justified, really. But yeah, I think Fiend expected more of that. If you look at where the kills commenced, they were all around that A site area. So it did seem like Fiend had the correct read. So it was very important that Young Ninjas got themselves those kills. It could have easily gone out of hand, right? So Dreamer will scrape away. Does seem like Young Ninjas may be looking for him. But I think they're sticking to close proximity, so no ninja diffuse shenanigans goes around. But this is the Swedish side taking lead now. For what I believe, maybe, if not the first time, one of the few times they've been ahead in this map. Yeah, they got the first few rounds, so it's not the first time. But they're back in it.
We can see the ingredients for a broth being cooked up. I mean, there are 3 nades on the CT side, so if the nades come through, perhaps a lot of damage can ensue as well. And they've just got the nades ready for Monster. They've got it ready for Short. Young Ninjas won't be allowed too much comfort as they walk into bomb sites because there's a deagle in the hands of Dreamer, bit of utility that they can use. But for the most part, I think the Young Ninjas should have absolutely no problem getting in there. Oh no, it's a 5-man stack on the B bomb site. How long can they resist it? The nades do fly out, but they haven't connected. You know what that means? It should be a mowdown. ZTR, he wants to add a few more to the tally. Just adds a friend as well.
And Sappa kills off Nilo? What? So 2 friendly kills, but still Young Ninjas come out ahead. So basically, if the friendly kills didn't come ahead, there'd be 4 players remaining right now, alive, instead of those 2.
Yeah, I mean, if they just take a technical timeout right now to slap each other on the back of the neck with it in their boot camp, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm glad they don't. Just giving each other the look from across the room, probably. Oh man, this is where they've got the guns, don't they, Pavlos? I mean, Fizzy's got an op. Red Harn has one as well. I want to see how this ends up working out. Fiend, no aggression from them as far as B is concerned, and instead, they're actually playing it entirely passively on most of the map. Do they expect this boost? They're simply not playing positions where it would even matter. Harn, he's the one expecting it. He checked it out from jungle, or rather heaven, but he's not gonna be waiting long enough for Nilo's peak to come in. I think they're just waiting for the rotation from Fiend to start to come in, and at that point, it becomes a much more a reasonable affair to expect a kill here. Bubble does get removed from the server.
Does, but no real ground is being gained from Young Ninjas, is there? Although they got that one kill towards the B site, it quickly got traded through, so there was no real avenue of attack. Now they're trying to collaborate together, push as a unit onto that A site all together. With Nilo leading the charge. Han, how quick can you be? Headshot does connect from Red Sites 2 actually to distinguish the side of Fiend. Well, the side of Young Ninjas. It's a quick take from them. Nothing that Young Ninjas could do in that situation. The crossfire was set up, and from there, the round was lost. And Fizzy yet again finds himself in a saving position, having to salvage that AWP for the next round.
This is such a neck-and-neck game. Fiend were able to bring themselves back on the horse as soon as they got some control back after that pistol round going the way of Young Ninjas, but it's still essential that they can keep their hands on these guns. It's not like they've been able to build up much of a bank even with these loss bonuses. It was a pretty convincing round in the previous one, but some rebuys do mean that Bubble and Red Star have been knocked down to below 2,000. Harn, a great start to the round as Rolf has already been taken out of commission. ZTR receiving a nade to the forehead. He's not too happy about it. 48 points of health remaining. And those M4s have suddenly been powered up into AKs as far as ZTR is considered. Nilo and Topek, they're still the healthy riflers on the server. So as far as the CT side goes, they can still play with a level of passivity because they have the advantage, but Young Ninjas, on the other hand, they're the ones that have to take a lot more initiative. 2 and 2, 2 on B, and 2 trying to bait something out on long. Now, they'll be rotating all the way over because a piece of utility wants to keep some rotations on A, but fast rotations on Overpass do mean that it'll be very hard for Young Ninjas to really get away with few duels.
Let's see if they can do just that. No one really setting the fake towards the other side, so Fiend can comfortably settle themselves onto the site. Victor, I think he spotted out a shadow of Nilo there into the water corner, blurring out the flash, but the timing isn't great for him. Nilo will be able to shut him down. Do they expect Streamer's angled? Yes, they do, but still 3v3 Endeavor heading onto the site now. They're having great difficulty in getting it. And so ETR does find that one kill, but it's down to 2 versus 1. Pushing through the flames, bomb collected, looking for the shot, but Bubble is able to retrieve him. Double digits across the board as Fiend square things up.
I love how Bubble was the third man that they didn't expect. They get one, they're like, okay, yeah, this is easy. We'll get the second kill as well. After they take Dreamer on, after they take Nilo, Bubble will still come out swinging. 10-10, once again tied up. We saw it at 8-8, we saw it at 10-10, and this is just getting started. Young Ninjas, they're on the eco, so this is the bonus round opportunity for Fiend. They've got an M4 on, well, they've got an M4 apiece on both Dreamer and Victor. They just have to hold down the line. 3 in short, 2 in Monster. It is a spray down, very easy lineup, and it's a complete cleanup round. No casualties on the CT side, and that's exactly what they wanted. Their wallets fattening up as Fiend take it away.
Oh man, I want to set the scene. Fiend, they seem favorites, right? When we look at the Pinnacle Cup odds, that is what is shown. Fiend look to be winning. But looking previously, Inferno 16-4 in favor of the Young Ninjas. then Mirage, Fiend completely bounce back and annihilate their opponent 16-2. This is the closest we've seen these two teams competing. And this has been going for quite some time. It's neck and neck. It's basically a tug of war. And it's a buy-up from both these sides now to decide which team can have the advantage into this. Fiend, they've aggressed so far to get that information. How do they take that information? How do they process it? Because what they know right now is that there's no one approaching the short side, and they may want to control the connector side. But Young Ninjas now pushing onto the upper side of A. They haven't quite pulled the trigger on their attack. They haven't quite pulled the trigger on their decision.
Yeah, Harn was watching long for the longest time, and I do think he now realizes that they're heading on over to A. They've completely cleared out B, but the bomb is still all the way back, which means that they need to find some picks, some information before they can actually commit to something. Fiend, 3-2 setup. Lots more attention on A, and the reason they've done that is because their previous aggression from short gave them the important information that they needed to know that they can have a readjustment, that they don't need additional players on B, that they can hold down the line with just 2. But now that enough time has elapsed that they haven't had control of short, this is where they can start to backtrack. Red Star, quick kill onto Nilo. That gives them control over short, but he'll be backing off.
Oh no.
I think they're cheating rotations.
Yeah, ZTR, he faked that well. He made a lot of noise towards that A alongside, and now that means that Young Ninjas have a clear highway to push towards the site. Dreamer holding down his ground, but no, Fizzy able to shut him down with a headshot. Now 3 versus 4 in favor of the Fiend side as Fizzy is able to grab out one Sapak all by himself. Han trying to do his best with that AWP. He does deliver the shot, but Victor will hold his ground against Sapak himself. 2 versus 4. Young Ninjas, they're in trouble. Bomb now has gone down for them. Smoke, give him bubble space. Fizzy, able to capitalize on it as ETR chimes in with another. Down to a 2-on-2. The scoreline is square. Pistol drawn out. Fizzy, not shut down yet. He's so down low. Red Star pulls out the AWP, but they're buying so much time. He's all by himself, and there's nothing he can do. He falls back from it. The round is going to the side of Young Ninjas.
That comes off of the back of ZTR being in the backlines. That was so incredibly done. Keep in mind that even on the flank, ZTR only had 14 points of health. So for him to maintain his composure, rely on his teammate to hold down the line long enough for him to come through, that is impeccable. And you can see why Fiend take a timeout. They need to clear their headspace. They do have a buy, but this might be one of their later ones. They don't have that much of a loss bonus built up. If they go for a full-on investment where Harn has an AWP, if he's got Kevlar and utility out the wazoo, then for sure this is going to economically decapitate them. Bit of a tongue twister. But this game has been a twist up to begin with. 11-11. Pavlos, how do you see this going?
I see that the pressure is on Fiend. They need to stay focused. And they take the time out for good reason as well. If you guys have a better hunch about how things may go on, pinnacle.com/odds is there for you to get yourselves some bets in. Also a nice bonus for you by putting in the code CUP21 for getting a €10 bonus upon your first esports bet. But Young Ninjas, how far can they take this? Double ult set up again for the Fiend side, and they'll be looking to hold off the short attack that Young Ninjas are boiling up. Fiend now 3 players strong to the B side. Young Ninjas looking to breach through, but initially I'm sure they're looking for a pick. I'm sure they don't want to walk in blind. With Fiend having most of their players towards that side of the map, their attempts do become more difficult. Ground being game from Fizzy, right? There's Nilo as well pushing up towards lavatories. They're eager to fish out a player or two towards that A site. Bomb hasn't made its way anywhere yet. This is a theme we've been seeing so far from the Young Ninja side, but that pick was so important by Red Star. It's important because now the Young Ninjas attack has been dwindled down to 4 players. And Nilo, he's been entering for this team for quite some time. Although he hasn't been the best fragger, his role in these takes has been immense. Creating the space available. But Harney's got the right idea with that AWP holding down his ground, not quite able to connect the first shot. Double up is the charm. Red Star is there as well. The AWPs are all that is required to hold the lineup from Young Ninjas. Fiend, that was a solid hold.
Bullets flying across the map. The AWPs, they've reigned supreme. And Young Ninjas, they can feel the pressure. They're taking a timeout.
Timeout after timeout, you can see that both ends cannot feel comfortable with the current standing. They cannot snug themselves in their seats and feel happy about how things are going on. This is exactly how we wanted this third map to unfold, and it is being gifted to us. You have to give credit where credit is due. Hard and Red Star have done a splendid job. But it felt like the Young Ninjas didn't have too much utility left to challenge them, really. No smokes, not many flashes.
Yeah,
and Hard and Red Star took it in turn.
Yeah, this could be the one roadblock that they can't get past. I know that this has constantly been neck and neck, and I know that they've had a back and forth game so far, but as far as the Young Ninjas are concerned, this might be the end of the road for them because Fiend, they're so far apart as far as the economy differential is concerned. The double ops on the A site, how do Young Ninjas even do anything? This should be a throwaway round. Red Star, he gets the lineup, and Fizzy's been brought down to 12. This should be a complete mowdown, and Sapik and Nilo shouldn't be allowed any comfort at all.
Oh man, I would have thought that Red Star had a legit three-man lineup there. But eventually, no, it was 1 kill and damage onto the second, as I believe it was a leg shot on the second player behind his initial kill. But man, this is the most breathing space we've seen in a while for any of these teams. A 2-round differential, right? That isn't a massive margin by all means. Young Ninjas, they've got space to come back from this. But can they? That is the question. Can they pull themselves together to come across this finishing line?
You say that they've got space, but they will have lacking utility if they end up losing this round. A bull in a china shop. They're heading on over to B, but this bull is burning up. It's being naded down. It's being sprayed down by M4s, and everything's been taken out of their hands. Young Ninjas, they've lost all control, and Fiend should be stepping on over to 14.
A desperate take there from Young Ninjas. That doesn't pay off. Spending a lot of their players on the attack. And now 2 of them are left stranded on the outside, looking in, without being able to recover the bomb. It's like looking within a room, a glass room, and then being locked out. The only way for them to lock in is for them to punch that glass door. Nilo's done a dent in it. He started to create a few cracks. But Fizzy, can he hammer and shatter the whole thing through? Bubble will be the first man to greet him, down to 7 points of health. It's doable, but it's going to be difficult. Red Star, he only gets 1 shot, and he will deliver. Fiend, 14-11, with 2 rounds left for them to close out this series.
This is such a bad spot for Young Ninjas to suddenly be in an economic deficit because they have so many decisions that they need to make here. Fiend, you can see it on their faces. They are starting to feel a bit more comfortable. They want to play for overtime. You can see the decision making here from Young Ninjas. They're not trying to stop them at 14. Instead, what they do is pick up a couple Tech 9s. Maybe they can still overpower. And this kind of strategy can work out incredibly well in their favor. And that's because Red Star and Harn, being on that double op setup, they can easily get overwhelmed. With just the right flashbangs being timed, this could still work out for them. And Young Ninjas, they're about to move on to the B bomb site.
I really could. Dreamer holding down the line. They've got the idea. Jiggle peeking there from Fizzy. Spray down. It's going to be simple. They're not being challenged too much. Tech 9 from the hands of Rolf is actually finding 2 kills. Could they find much more? Victor's being challenged again. Rifles to be picked up, but Red Star from above is going to be a menace. Nade being thrown out. Kit being thrown into the air, but the flames do obscure his vision. Hahn, he's trying to approach it. The double AWP setup isn't quite the best set of weapons to deal with a situation, but it's primed to take advantage of Rolf's mispositioning. Trying to recover the bomb, trying to recover a position from which Cyphic can bring things together for his team, but Red Star is able to deliver 15-11, and Fiend is now on map and series points.
Where I thought that the double op setup would be their downfall, instead that's what they retake with. That's what they bring it back with. And that is incredible stuff. The Tech-9s almost reign supreme. They're somehow able to take over the rifles on the B-bomb site. But as far as clutches go, Fiend, you know that they're well known for it. Heading on into potentially the final round if Young Ninjas can't pull through. Fizzy's got a lot of pressure to make that AWP work. He hasn't had as much impact, but now they've still got one lifeline to work with. Harn coming around the corner. He's playing off of Playground. He's gotten a kill apiece. And Red Star, because he's playing from Party, he also gets an opportunity, but he's not going to be as successful in his endeavors. Rolf just takes one bullet to the leg.
Unprecedented aggression coming through from Han does pay off. Nilo Izell does bounce back fairly quickly. Bubble is down, but still, two of the players from the Young Ninja side are very, very low. Misstepping, crushing their ankle would be their downfall. Rolf does deliver with a headshot over to Red Star, and now they'll try and move towards this A side. They've got the space, and they create even more of it. Han completely demolished the nade. It's as if they try and jump away from it. It's so cinematic. 2 versus 4. Molly thrown out, and Victor is only can wait until the smoke sets for him to take charge of this retake. But what decision does Fiend make? Their economy is limited, and they decide to back away from it, realizing that they're in such a disadvantageous position on that numbers deficit that it's best to fall back and save those weapons. And maybe those next few rounds will be where Fiend can close things out.
Playing for overtime now. Young Ninjas, they still have 3 stairs to climb, 3 sets of stairs. Unfortunately for them, they just get harder and harder. Red Star and Harn, they've got 9 and 7k. That'll be something tough to deal with, and you can see that being reflected in the odds, so 1-24.
I don't think it's what that one-sided. That is crazy.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean, obviously Fiend are on map point, and they can be for map and series point for the next few rounds. Yes, but I know Young Ninjas, they're resilient. For a young team such as them, being resilient is a rare known prospect. But I've seen these guys play, and I do think that there is some more potential to be given. If they can pull themselves together, there is a chance. But Fiend, yes, they are favorites. Yes, and I agree with that prospect in the Pinnacle odds. But they need to finish this game.
Slowly but surely, Young Ninjas, they want to head on over to Long, but there's an audio cue that's been given up. Red Star and Harn, I'm sure they know what's going on. Without a flashbang to clear it out, if they walk into toilets, Harn will have the right idea. He will have the angle, and he even has a Red Star watching it for him. I think he spotted a pixel because he's holding it wide long enough that he can spot one. Just needs an elbow, and he's hit it.
It was a shoulder peek, but it's still quick enough to react to it. Smoke preemptively being thrown to it. Does withstand the flames. 4 versus 5, and Fiend already have the advantage. Han aggressively pushing through. That's going to be the headshot onto Nyla, but still Sapek does find the finishing blow. 4 versus 4. They need to trickle in, but one's being left behind in the smoke, and this could be dreadful for the Young Ninja side. Red Star still hiding around, but it seems they've got the attention turned towards them. They're saying, where is he? Where on earth has he gone? But they're able to shut him down instead. Victor has no other say in the matter as they completely annihilate him, and Dreamer is all that is left for Fiend, and there is nothing he can do. Although he's a clutch meister, he will not be this time around, as Young Ninjas still have something to say about this, and they are on that 13th round now.
The money on the CT side isn't that favorable either. Young Ninjas being able to pick up a couple of rounds, of course, allows them to have 24 to 2,900, but it's not like they have too many savings. Harn and Red Star, they had such significant investments in this round that they've been brought down from 9 and 7k respectively to basically nothing. And this is where the gears start to run in their heads. This is where the hamster starts to spin the wheel. Do they go for this here and have 2 shots at round with shoddy buys, or do they just end up doubling down right here and then? Do they save for the next one?
I don't know what the safe call is, man. I really don't know. It's a difficult choice, and they're making it right now with the timeout. But there is a safe choice you guys can make: is use Trustly on your pinnacle.com/odds, and it's basically allows you to have safe and quick transfer from account to account when it comes to online payments. Trustly is definitely where you want to head, and using the code Cup21 upon sign up, you can have €10 extra on your bet in esports. But this is a really close endeavor, and you can see across the board there's a lot of pressure. And all of these players and Fiends, they've opted to go for a save.
Dreamer still had a little bit more money than the rest of the team. And of course, he did end up saving that M4, so he's got some firepower under his belt. But this is mostly a gamble as far as Fiend is concerned. Harn, his scout rifle might have telegraphed the information that everybody else has a buy as well. So Young Ninjas will be taking it slow. They've left the bomb all the way behind. Fiend, the gamble for them is that they've committed 4 players to the A bomb site, so if that doesn't work out for them, A isn't something that they'll be too happy to take on.
Spotted 2 players on the upper side, and ZTR knows he can cover this corner. Oh, the timing. Ooh, he would have had a chance because it's just been peeked. Bubble peeking through, and now does get punished. Sticks around too long, and now I'm going to just have the advantage in numbers as well. It should be a simple ordeal. It should be that 14th to 15 round scoreline at least. But we know with Dreamer still being alive, with still having that M4 at hand and Deagle onto the Victor, should be a difficult endeavor still regarding that. Dreamer puts that M4 to the test, quickly shut down by Nilo, struggling to find a finishing blow into Han, but eventually finds it. Red Star. There's not much hopes in the eyes of this man. The Swedish squad has taken over half of this map. He may look to go for an extra blow here and there, especially after knowing that Fizzy and Nilo are fairly low. There is a kit to be picked up, so he may even try. He gave away an audio cue. I think Young Ninjas know of his location. They're searching for him. And that's exactly what's going on. They're sticking around. They'll be shooting him off. But this round, this next round, it will decide whether we'll be going to overtime or Fiend will be closing out this series.
This is stressful. Young Ninjas, the focus is starting to show up in their eyes. Dead set on their monitors. This could potentially be the final blow. And they've managed to somehow scrape together enough money to afford an AWP for Harn, but it's going to have to put up a lot of impact off of that. Anticipating some kind of boost. They're going to exhaust a lot of early nades as far as the T side is concerned. Fiend, they don't have much utility to begin with, so it's not like they're going to be doing just that. Leaving the bomb behind, 2-win connector, 2 slowly clearing out playground. Fiend, this kind of passivity with regards to their play, it's not too common because oftentimes you see Harn and Red Star being the tag team duo that takes initiative, and I think Harn, that light bulb might have just lit up in his mind because he's going for some aggression on toilets.
Just now, smoke separating between themselves and their opponents there. Molotov thrown out. Them at bay for a slight time, but 40 seconds on the clock. Bubble. That's going to be the first blow. Oh dear, they didn't expect him to aggress that far. They thought they had that ground covered, but no. They turned their attention towards the B site, and that is pretty barren. This time has been called, and Dreamer is all by himself. He's got a big task ahead of him. He's able to double up with that 2 kills, maybe 3rd damage inflicted onto Rolf, quite substantially so. Rolf and Fizzy both finding kills in the process, but Red Star is able to find one more. It's all down to Rolf, but for no longer. Fiend's eco works out, and this buy round is where they close things out. 16 to 14, and what a way to close out this series.
2 dominant maps. Map 1, it's entirely a Young Ninjas affair. Map number 2, it's all Fiend. And then it's such a decisive conclusion to end it out. 16 to 14, as close as a game can get. Both teams showed signs of dominance. They both showed promise. But at the end of the day, Fiend, they can just have that extra inch to inch on forward. They somehow make it out alive, and they don't allow overtime. So that is very impressive stuff from them. And honestly, I'm a bit surprised that they had such a stellar performance as far as Mirage is concerned, because if you've just gotten battered 16-4 and then you move on to a puggy map like Mirage, that's not something that should be allowed, is it?
Absolutely not. It's been a back and forth, hasn't it, Wilderi? And I cannot believe that we sort of saw this come across. I guess at the end of the day, the prediction that Fiend would have come out ahead does come to fruition, right? Is the outcome that everybody expected, but I don't think anybody expected the fashion of which that would have proceeded, right? So yes, Fiend does get themselves that victory, and I guess at the end of the day, that's all that matters in the end. Yeah. But I think Young Ninjas, throughout the entire Swiss stage, throughout all the teams performing in this tournament, I guess they'd be considered of one of the underdogs, really. Not one of the teams that are favored to take the whole thing. But a lot of teams now need to look out for them. They cannot shy away from giving attention to these guys because they are very, very strong and they're looking to bounce back. But ladies and gentlemen, to make up for recovered time, I'm just going to let you know that we'll be heading into a break shortly. But there are games coming up next. Havu versus MIBR will be played straight after this matchup. So make sure you stick around. There's a break coming your way, so do not go anywhere.